Chapter 749. The conversation between the old doctor and Mu Yu was clearly heard by the demons outside the clinic. Like the old doctor, they did not believe that Mu Yu could detoxify the poison. They were also very angry at Mu Yu's confident look. However, at this time, because the old doctor had said so, everyone was waiting to see Mu Yu embarrass himself. "I'm so angry. Where did Xiao Shui go? I really should let her take a good look at this brat's scoundrel face." Old man Tianqin cursed. "Xiao Shui left Dawn Valley this morning and hasn't returned yet. It's okay, we can all testify." Madame Zhu snorted. Little Shui and Long Ting were listening to the side and were angry. Long Ting said discontentedly, "Why are these demons so short-sighted? Should I go out and shout?" "That's right. The ancestor who plays with poisons is here. How dare they question him like this? They are really blind," Little Shui said. The two of them naturally knew what ability Mu Yu, who could control trees and had received Deadwood Daddy's teachings, had. Seeing the demons complaining there, they were annoyed. "Don't be impulsive. They actually don't have any bad intentions." Mu Yu quickly analyzed the extent of the poison in Mao Xiaojiu's body and found that the desolate ruin poison had invaded Mao Xiaojiu's meridians. Even his spiritual power was contaminated with poison. This situation was very similar to Deadwood Daddy's body before his cultivation was dispersed. However, Deadwood Daddy's body was contaminated with all kinds of poisons in the world. After a long time, there was no cure. However, the desolate ruin poison had just invaded Mao Xiaojiu's body, so it was very easy to cure it. Mu Yu quickly analyzed the method to detoxify the desolate ruin poison in his mind. He nodded thoughtfully, gathered a green spiritual power in his hand, and extended it along Mao Xiaojiu's forehead to his heart. Then, he looked up and asked the old doctor, "Old doctor, do you have crispy cloudwood here? It's the kind of plant used to stop bleeding." "Why are you asking this? Don't tell me you want to use crispy cloudwood to detoxify the poison? What are you daydreaming about?" The old doctor saw that Mu Yu did not seem to be infected by the poison. Furthermore, his control of spiritual energy surprised him. However, because the desolate ruins poison was too terrifying for them, he still did not think that Mu Yu could cure the poison. "Forget it, I'll look for it myself." Mu Yu stabilized the small sawdust stuck in Kitty Nine's body and walked to the medicine cabinet in the clinic. Soon, all the herbs in the medicine cabinet appeared in his mind. He opened the medicine cabinet and took out a large piece of crispy cloudwood. At the same time, he found a few forest flowers and ancient cypress grass. "Old doctor, you have a lot of herbs here. They even have the rare and precious Ziming leaf." Mu Yu took out a withered leaf that was emitting a white light from the medicine cabinet in the corner. He weighed it in his hand and found that it was not old enough. Then, he quietly gave it a boost. The whole process was done very discreetly. When the old doctor saw that Mu Yu had taken out all the herbs in his collection, he was furious. "Brat, put it down. Don't touch my herbs. I had to search through the entire swamp to find it." If he was not forcing the poison out of Kitty Nine's body, he would have already rushed over to Mu Yu. Those herbs were very precious. How could he treat them as child's play? "Why are you looking for so many herbs?" Mu Yu waved his hand and all the herbs floated in the air. "Why are you looking for so many herbs? Why would Xiao Shui like a fool like you? I'm a doctor. Of course, I'm looking for herbs to treat illnesses. What else can I do?" The old doctor was so angry that his beard was sticking up. "Then it's fine. These herbs can save their lives. It's understandable that I take them out. You can't cure the poison, but I can." Mu Yu took out some other herbs. Because he wanted to save 2 people, this amount was not enough. So, he turned around and made a copy of the herbs with his back facing the others. "Where did you get your confidence from? How can these herbs be used to cure the poison?" The old doctor's lungs were about to explode. He had been a doctor for his entire life. Almost everyone in the Azure Dragon dynasty knew his name. When it came to illnesses, he would treat them if he could. If he couldn't, he wouldn't waste his time. He had spent his entire life researching the desolate ruins poison. He had tried all kinds of herbs, but none of them worked. However, this human kid who had just arrived dared to mess around with his herbs in front of him. He didn't know anything and dared to say that he could cure the desolate ruins poison. This was obviously questioning his medical skills. This made him very angry. Muyu did not refute anything. He walked back to Kitty Nine's side and used his spiritual power to crush the herbs in his hand. He crushed them into powder and divided them into 2 portions. He added the same medicinal powder to each portion. He tilted his head and muttered, "There's still 1 portion missing. Let me think, the blood of the howling sky butterfly." Muyu glanced at the Fey clansmen who were watching the commotion and were afraid of death at the entrance of the clinic. He realized that there were no Fey clansmen like the howling sky butterfly. However, his gaze suddenly fixed on Old Man Tian Can. His eyes immediately lit up. Tian Can's blood. Oh right, Tian Can's blood is even better. I forgot about the white-skinned Lord Tian Can. Muyu quickly walked in front of Old Man Tian Can and revealed a harmless smile. "Lord Tian Can, I have something to discuss with you." Old Man Tian Can immediately shrank back. He crossed his arms in front of his chest and scolded, "What do you want to do to an old man like me, you arrogant little bastard? No. Save someone. Your Fey beast's blood is a very important medicinal catalyst. It can cure poison. Especially Lord Tian Can's blood. It's extremely precious." Muyu said seriously. "Bullshit. I've never heard that my blood can cure poison. What's more, I'm a Fey, which is of a higher level than Fey beasts. How can Fey beasts compare my blood?" Old Man Tian Can said angrily. To Fey beasts, Fey clansmen were like cultivators to mortals. They had a sense of superiority. "Fey clansmen are of a higher level? Then your blood must be more effective in detoxifying poison. Come on, for your clansmen, you'd better sacrifice yourself. It's not much, just 2 bowls of blood. You're white and fat. Nothing will happen to you if you lose 2 bowls of blood," Muyu urged. 2 bowls of blood. Do you think I'm slaughtering a pig? Human boy, you bastard. I didn't provoke you. Are you deliberately making things difficult for me? Old Man Tian Can cursed loudly. At the same time, he squeezed through the crowd and stayed away from Muyu. He would rather die than donate blood. Hurry up. Saving a Fey's life is better than building a 7-floor pagoda. Time waits for no one. Muyu waved his hand. Suddenly, his figure flashed and he passed through the crowd. He came behind Old Man Tian Can, who was only at the out-of-body stage. A wooden tube was inserted into Old Man Tian Can's blood vessel. "I'm going to kill you." Old Man Tian Can couldn't resist Muyu, who was at the form synthesis stage. He immediately screamed like a pig being slaughtered. However, Muyu only took a moment to take his blood. The wooden tube sucked out Old Man Tian Can's blood. Then, he returned to the clinic with 2 bowls of white blood floating in his hand. "Human boy, you're dead. I'll tell Qiao Shui and ask her to dump you. You're not a Fey at all. You're so disrespectful to an old man. Oh yes, you're not a Fey. You're not a human." To be honest, it didn't matter to Old Man Tian Can that his blood was sucked out of 2 bowls. The Fey clansmen had thick skin and flesh. They didn't even need to blink their eyes to drain a bucket of blood. However, he was unwilling to give up and cursed loudly. If he wasn't worried about being contaminated by the poisonous fog in the clinic, he would have rushed in and spat out several mouthfuls of silk to kill Muyu. All the Fey clansmen began to glare at Muyu angrily. He dared to attack a Fey clansman in broad daylight. He was simply courting death. Even the old doctor who was suppressing the 9 desolate ruins poison was trembling with anger at Muyu's actions. To the old doctor, Muyu was simply fooling around. Mu Yu crushed more than a dozen seemingly ordinary herbs and finally kneaded them into powder. Then, he added them in a certain order. The process of adding herbs was very strict because different herbs would have different reactions. He needed to neutralize the repulsive force between them. Mu Yu wasn't worried about this kind of poison. After all, if there was any poison, he could just filter it through the trees. However, for other people, he had to treat them step by step according to Professor Deadwood Daddy's method. These herbs were mixed into a bowl of blood, and the white heavenly silkworm blood began to boil. Mu Yu gently shook it with his spiritual power. The spiritual power needed to be injected into a few of the herbs to refine the resistance of some of them. Fortunately, the resistance of these herbs was very easy to remove, so it wasn't too difficult. You want to cure the desolate ruins poison with just these herbs and blood? What the hell are you thinking? The old doctor was furious. He didn't approve of Mu Yu's ridiculous method. The Fey clansmen were still scolding and pointing at Mu Yu. The old doctor was so angry that his beard was blowing and his eyes were glaring. However, Mu Yu didn't care at all. He carefully opened Mao Xiaozhou's mouth and fed the medicine to Mao Xiaozhou. The poison that Mu Yu had concocted slowly entered Mao Xiaozhou's body. The medicinal liquid gathered around the green spiritual power that Mu Yu had placed on Mao Xiaozhou's body. Then, Mu Yu waved his hand again, and the green spiritual power began to dissolve, gradually spreading the medicinal ingredients all over Mao Xiaozhou's body. All the Fey clansmen looked at Mu Yu's actions and whispered to each other, criticizing Mu Yu for doing something wrong. However, because no one dared to step forward to stop him, they could only stare. However, after a long time, Mao Xiaozhou still didn't show any signs of waking up. "Kid, have you gone too far?" The old doctor couldn't help but shout again. After that, Mu Yu brought the remaining medicinal herbs to the old doctor's side and prepared to give it to Mao Dejiu. "I'm not fooling around. I'm saving you Fey clansmen," Mu Yu said helplessly. "You made blood and destroyed my spiritual medicine, and you say you're not fooling around? You. The old doctor glared at Mu Yu angrily. "That's right. Why did Xiao Shui take a fancy to such a show-off fool? What's so good about this guy? No, we can't let Xiao Shui be harmed by this human fool. That's right, I object to this marriage. It's fine if his skin isn't white enough, but he's disrespectful to the elderly. This is too much. I must use silk to spin him into a cocoon and hang him in the Dawn Valley to parade him through the streets." Everyone was also criticizing Mu Yu, especially the old man Tian Can. He was the one who scolded the most. He had 2 bowls of blood drawn by Mu Yu for no reason. It would be strange if he didn't go berserk. However, at that moment Mao Xiaozhou, who had taken Mu Yu's herbs, suddenly moved. Then, he sat up abruptly, stretched his head out, and directly vomited large mouthfuls of blood. The blood he vomited was actually black blood that was emitting a strange smoke. What's going on? Did Mao Xiaozhou come back to life? Chapter 750. When the old doctor announced that Mao Xiaozhou and Mao Dejiu were beyond saving, every goblin believed that Mao Xiaozhou and Mao Dejiu were dead. However, after Mu Yu fed them a bowl of Tian Can's blood and some random herbs, Mao Xiaozhou actually came back to life. This scared the goblins. What they were most worried about was not what would happen to Mao Xiaozhou after he came back to life. There were all kinds of strange things in the cultivation realm. Coming back to life was not a big deal. They were most worried that Mao Xiaozhou would run around uncontrollably and spread the poison gas. If the entire Dawn Valley was contaminated by the desolate ruins poison, it would be terrible. "Quick, let's trap him together. We can't let Mao Xiaozhou escape." Madame Zhu's voice was the loudest, waking everyone up. Every demon clan member took out their own magic weapon, and their bodies surged with spiritual power, ready to trap Mao Xiaozhou in the medical center. However, no one dared to take the lead, fearing that the first to rush over would be sprayed by Mao Xiaozhou's poisonous gas. Huff, huff. After Mao Xiaozhou spat out the black blood, he sat on the sickbed and gasped for breath. His sallow face had returned to normal. Although he still looked pale, his breathing was much steadier. Everyone, I am not a zombie. I really came back to life. Mao Xiaozhou panted and said to the group of goblins at the door. Zombies can talk? Oh my god! Can the desolate ruins poison gas control corpses now? It's over, it's over. Do we have to cremate the corpses? Hurry up and prepare the fire. Also, burn the bones of the goblins who were killed by the poison gas. The goblins were panicking. Some goblins were even preparing to dig the grave. Don't worry, he is a living person. What are you afraid of? Mu Yu shouted. Mao Xiaozhou walked down from the sickbed and kowtowed to the old doctor gratefully. Xiaozhou thanks Grandpa Doctor for saving my life. Ah? What happened? Why is Mao Xiaozhou kneeling? All the goblins were shocked. Mao Xiaozhou did not look like a zombie at all. Instead, he looked normal and showed no signs of being poisoned. But how was that possible? In the past, there was no cure for such a severe desolate ruins poison. Mao Xiaozhou saw that her brother Mao Dejiu was still poisoned and hurriedly said, Old doctor, your medical skills are brilliant. Quickly help me save my brother. By this time, the old doctor had already forced back the poison that had overflowed from Mao Dejiu's body. When he saw Mao Dejiu's lively appearance, he was stunned. He looked at the kneeling Mao Dejiu in disbelief, not knowing what to say for a moment. He knew the poison in the ruins better than anyone else. If one breathed in just a little bit of the poison, they could still be saved with the medical skills invented by the old doctor. However, they would still be permanently disabled. If they were poisoned as deeply as the two brothers, then it would be impossible to save them. But who would have thought that Kitten 9, who had been pronounced dead by the old doctor, would be saved by Mu Yu? And looking at Kitten 9, other than being a little weak, she looked completely fine. Mao Xiaozhou, are you really okay? The old doctor stretched out his hand to take Mao Xiaozhou's pulse and checked her body. He found that Mao Xiaozhou's body was a normal goblin's, except for the fact that her qi and blood were a little weak and needed to be adjusted. Yes, Grandpa Doctor, your medical skills are brilliant. You actually found a way to cure the desolate ruins poison. I'm really lucky. Ancestor Azure Dragon bless me. Please help me save my brother. Mao Xiaozhou looked anxiously at Mao Dejiu, who was still lying on the bed. The old doctor suddenly blushed when he heard Mao Xiaozhou's words. At first, he had already given up on treating the nine-tailed brothers. The one who really saved Mao Xiaozhou was this seemingly unreliable young man. But at this time, Mao Xiaozhou mistakenly thought that he had saved her and kept praising his medical skills. This was embarrassing the old doctor. Actually, you're not. The old doctor's face turned red. He was the one who told everyone that the nine-tailed cat brothers were incurable under the watchful eyes of the crowd. Now that there were so many people watching outside, how could he have the nerve to take the credit for this matter? Especially when he recalled that he seemed to have angrily said that if Mu Yu could cure the poison, he would kowtow 3 times to Mu Yu. His words had been spoken so resolutely and decisively that everyone had heard it. But Mu Yu turned to Mao Xiaozhou and said, Comrade Mao Xiaozhou, you should thank the old doctor. It's all thanks to the old doctor's precious herbs. If it weren't for these herbs, you might not be able to be saved. Oh yes, you should thank Grandpa Tiancan. His blood saved you. Thank you, old doctor. Thank you, Uncle Tiancan, Mao Xiaozhou said slowly. Outside, the white and fat old man Tiancan was shocked. He was still angry about the 2 big bowls of blood. Why did it suddenly seem like he had become Mao Xiaozhou's savior? The old doctor's gaze at Mu Yu finally changed a little. Mu Yu did not mention kneeling and kowtowing, and even put the credit on him. This gave him a way out. Otherwise, his reputation today would really be ruined. Little friend Muyu, you should hurry up and give Mao Daijiu the medicine. The old doctor hurriedly hid his embarrassment. While he was grateful to Muyu, he was also shocked. To be able to save people who had been poisoned by the ruins, his medical skills were much better than his. Most importantly, Muyu probably didn't even know where the wasteland was. Thinking of the ruins, even the old doctor felt terrified. Okay, old doctor. You have to help me use your spiritual power to seal the wound on Mao Daijiu's body. Then I'll give Mao Daijiu the medicine. Otherwise, Grandpa Tian Can's blood will flow out, and that would be a waste. In fact, a small wound was not a problem at all, and it would not cause any blood to flow out. However, Muyu thought about it and decided to let the old doctor participate in the treatment. He did not have any grudges with the old doctor, and this was his clinic. If the old doctor did nothing, he would lose his status as a godly doctor in the eyes of the shifters. Muyu did not come to the Dawn Valley to make enemies. Oh, okay. The old doctor breathed a sigh of relief. At the same time, he was grateful that Muyu did not let him go. He hurriedly and solemnly released spiritual power from his hand to suppress the poisonous gas spewing out of the wound. In fact, he knew that he had already suppressed the wound. Now it was unnecessary. At this moment, Muyu had already fed Mao Daijiu the blood of Tian Can. At the same time, he released a green spiritual power from his hand to help Mao Daijiu transfer the medicine to all parts of his body. Not long after, Mao Daijiu sat up like Mao Xiaojiu and began to spit out black blood. Then, his aura began to improve. Thank you for saving our lives, old doctor. The nine-tailed cat brothers were very grateful to the old doctor. They said a lot of touching words to the old doctor, such as how they would never forget his great kindness and how they would follow his lead in the future. Finally, under Mu Yu's kind reminder, the two brothers thanked Old Man Tian Can for a long time. Oh, no problem. I've always been a warm-hearted person. Let alone 2 bowls of blood, even if it was 3 or 4 bowls, even if it was a bucket of blood, as long as it could save you, I wouldn't even frown. Old Man Tian Can had a magnanimous and compassionate look on his face. He seemed to have forgotten that he was going to fight Mu Yu to the death. The old doctor felt ashamed. Although the herbs were taken from his clinic, if these herbs were not mixed according to a certain dosage, they would be useless. Mu Yu detoxified the poison, but the credit was given to him and Tian Can. It was too ironic. Actually, you should thank little friend Mu Yu. If it wasn't for his prescription, I'm afraid the 2 of you would have died today. In the end, the old doctor felt that it was necessary to make things clear. After all, everyone present understood that Mu Yu was the one who was tormenting them from the beginning. The old doctor didn't help at all. Moreover, Mu Yu had just given him a way out. If he continued to be greedy, it would seem unkind. Yes, Qiao Shui's taste is really good. She actually found such a good young man. Aunt Zhu said with a smile. Yes, the other devil race people echoed. Their attitudes suddenly changed again. At the beginning, these people were very repulsed by Mu Yu. However, this time, Mu Yu saved the 9-tailed cat brothers with his strength. Being able to detoxify the desolate ruins poison that terrified the devil race was a great thing. At the very least, they wouldn't have to be afraid in the future. Thank you, Brother Mu Yu. If there's anything you need us for in the future, just let us know. The 2 of us will not hesitate to go through water and tread on fire. Mao Daijiu said gratefully. Mu Yu smiled. It's nothing. The 2 of you should go back and rest. All right. Everyone disperse. Go do your own things. Disperse. The old doctor quickly sent everyone away. Only Mu Yu and the old doctor were left in the clinic. The old doctor stuttered for a moment before saying, I was blind just now. Please forgive me for offending you. Xiao Shui jumped onto Mu Yu's shoulder and said in a childish voice, Hey, old man, you said that you would kowtow to Muyu if he could detoxify the desolate ruins poison. Isn't it time to fulfill your promise now? The old doctor was embarrassed by Xiao Shuai's words. He was a highly respected miracle doctor in the devil race. How could a miracle doctor like him kowtow to a human kid? How could he accept it with his pride? However, the old doctor was a very principled person. He didn't let Muyu try because he was worried that Muyu would mess around and spread the desolate ruins poison, killing everyone in the Valley of Dawn. Later, he said that he would kowtow because he was flustered and exasperated. Now that everyone was not present, it wasn't a big deal to fulfill his promise. I mean what I say. The old doctor bent his body and was about to kowtow to Muyu, but Muyu quickly stopped him. He smiled casually and said, "Old doctor, I was just saying. If you kneel to me, Xiao Shui will kill me if she finds out. Besides, it's all thanks to you that I managed to detoxify the poison. Without those herbs, I wouldn't have been able to save anyone." The old doctor said gratefully, "Muyu, you flatter me. I didn't do anything to detoxify the desolate ruins poison." After a while, the old doctor continued, "Muyu, are you a doctor too?" "Me? I guess so." Muyu thought about it. He was a poison master. Back in the Withered Tree Valley, he was just a lab rat. He had tasted countless poisons. It was a miracle that he survived. Chapter 751. Do you want my antidote formula? Muyu looked at the old doctor's hesitant expression. In fact, he had already guessed what the old doctor wanted to say. The old doctor found it difficult to speak. When he heard Muyu take the initiative to make things clear, he felt very awkward. In the beginning, he and the other demon clansmen did not believe that Muyu could cure the desolate ruins poison. They even tried to stop Muyu from saving people. However, Muyu had unexpectedly cured the desolate ruins poison that troubled the demon clansmen. Now, he wanted to ask Muyu for the antidote formula. It seemed somewhat unreasonable. However, when the old doctor thought of the demon clansmen who had died because of the desolate ruins poison, he felt extremely regretful and said solemnly, "Little friend Muyu, what happened just now was indeed this old man being arrogant. I also know that a doctor generally cherishes his or her own medicine. So, he or she won't divulge his or her prescription to others. So, I don't want to resort to trickery and robbery. So, little friend Muyu, if you want anything, just tell me. As long as you can tell this old man the prescription to detoxify the poison, this old man will be willing to exchange anything with you." However, Muyu said generously, "It's just an antidote formula. It's no big deal. I'll write down the dosage of various herbs, the order of preparation, and the resistance refining technique for you." The old doctor was overjoyed. He originally thought that Muyu would refuse in every possible way, but he never expected Muyu to agree so readily. Thus he said, "Then, little friend Muyu, if you have any requests, feel free to state them. As long as you can obtain the antidote for the desolate ruins poison, I can give you anything." Muyu shook his head. "No need. I just casually got this formula. I'll give it to you for free. I don't need anything." "Young Muyu, you're willing to give me the antidote formula for the desolate ruins poison for free?" The old doctor was in disbelief. To a doctor, many formulas were quite confidential. How could they give them away so casually? Even if he gave it to someone else, he would definitely get something in return. However, Muyu didn't seem to care about this precious antidote formula at all. This really surprised the old doctor. Although the old doctor had seen the herbs that Muyu had used, the old doctor didn't know the dosage of the herbs. Moreover, he wasn't very clear about the method of refining the herbs. Once the dosage of a certain herb was too high, the entire prescription would lose its effectiveness. The old doctor could not help but ask, "Muyu, do you know what the desolate ruins poison means to us? It's important to you, but it's not a big deal to me." Muyu generously said, He didn't often save people's lives or treat them. Most of the time, if there was any injury or illness, it would be solved by a pill. If one pill couldn't solve the problem, he would use two. But then again, the pills that he had extorted from the high-level alchemists of the Pill Cauldron sect were almost used up. When would he have to extort some more? He wrote down the antidote formula for the Desolate Ruins poison in detail and told the old doctor that every medicine was 30% poison. If the dosage wasn't right, not only would it not be able to cure the poison, it would also cause the poison to spread faster. The antidote wasn't fixed. Instead, it had to be reduced or increased according to the amount of poison. Mu Yu taught the old doctor how to determine the amount of Desolate Ruins poison in the poisoned person's body. When the time came, he would have to prescribe the right medicine. The dosage would be the same as the amount of poison. When dealing with the Desolate Ruins poison in the Nine-tailed cat brothers' bodies, Mu Yu used different dosages on them. Little friend Mu Yu, I didn't expect you to be such a selfless person. Originally, I always thought that the human race was selfish, but it seems that's not the case. The relationship between the human race and the demon race isn't good, but little friend Mu Yu is able to let bygones be bygones and have such a broad mind. Not only did you save our two clansmen, but you're also willing to give the antidote formula to this old man. You're truly a great person. The old doctor was not stingy with his praise for Mu Yu. This flattering praise made Mu Yu feel a little embarrassed. What kind of place is this Desolate Ruins? What's with the poisonous fog there? Mu Yu coughed twice and quickly changed the topic. Otherwise, the old doctor's words would make him lose his sense of direction. The old doctor sighed and said, Little friend Mu Yu, you just came to the demon race, so you don't know much about us demons. You should know that thousands of years ago the human race— Little friend Mu Yu, I hope you don't mind what I'm saying. The human race drove us monster race to this remote place in the west. This place used to be desolate and uninhabited. There were swamps everywhere. There were countless powerful poisonous insects and ferocious beasts. Those poisonous insects and ferocious beasts were not yet civilized. They were not afraid of us at all. Let alone the human race, even us monster race found it difficult to survive in this harsh illusion. Although the old doctor didn't live in that era, every demon had heard of the hardships of that era. If it wasn't for the existence of the Azure Dragon Demon King, the old, weak, and sick demons wouldn't have been able to survive. Later on, Ancestor Azure Dragon led us to rebuild our home here and intermarried with other demons. He used his bloodline to strengthen the demon race's constitution. Those of us who don't have the true dragon bloodline are considered the most primitive remnants of the demon race. However, Ancestor Azure Dragon repeatedly ordered us not to go to the Desolate Ruins in the west. The old doctor's expression became very serious. The Desolate Ruins in the west? What kind of place is that? Mu Yu asked curiously. We don't know, but Ancestor Azure Dragon said that the Desolate Ruins in the west is the end of the 3 continents. The end of the continent? I always thought that the end of the continent was the sea. Mu Yu was no stranger to the sea. He had just returned from the sea demon King Yu Jiang and had been entangled with the people of the Gate of Hell for a while. You're wrong. The sea has its end, and the continent has its end. The sea and the continent only intersect at one place, and that is the Moyun mountain range. This world is not round, but a flat land. On the continent, other than the east side of the Moyun mountain range where you can see the sea, if you fly in any other direction for a few years, you will eventually be inadvertently teleported back to the origin by some kind of power. Only if you fly west will you reach the territory of our demon clan, but you will be blocked by the poisonous fog outside the Desolate Ruins. The old doctor obviously knew more about this world than Mu Yu. His words also made Mu Yu very curious. Although he had been running around in the cultivation world, he never knew that there was an end to the continent and the sea. Then what is hidden at the end of the continent? Mu Yu was curious about the desolate ruins. The old doctor shook his head. No one knows. Maybe Ancestor Azure Dragon has been there, but we don't know much about this. The only thing we know is that the poisonous fog near the desolate ruins is too terrifying. Usually, it only drifts in the westernmost area, but sometimes when the wind blows, the poisonous fog will drift to the area where our demon clan live. We can't do anything about this poisonous fog. Mu Yu, you are the first person who can deal with this poisonous fog. Then how do you usually treat those who are poisoned? If the poisonous fog often drifted to the area where the demon clan lived, it meant that many demon clan members would be poisoned intentionally or unintentionally. Usually, those people would give up treatment like the old doctor. How could the demon clan members continue to live? The old doctor blushed slightly. If they only inhaled a little, I would use my spiritual energy to force the poison to a certain part of their body, such as their fingers or toes, and then amputate them. In serious cases, I might cut off their entire hand or even their lower body or all 4 limbs. These are all up to them to choose which part to cut off. But today, the 9-tailed cat brothers were deeply poisoned. I was basically helpless because their entire body was covered in poison and it could even leak out. There was no way to save them. If they were treated like this, they would live in pain for the rest of their lives. Mu Yu sympathized with these demon clan members. They had migrated to a place like the Western Peak and were constantly threatened by the poisonous fog of the desolate ruins. The living conditions were not easy. Fortunately, little friend Mu Yu came to help. This old man is really ashamed. After practicing medicine for my entire life, I can't even scratch the surface of Mu Yu's skills. For little friend Mu Yu to teach this old man the antidote formula, this old man can't thank you enough. Mu Yu, you are a great benefactor of the demon clan. The old doctor bowed. You flatter me. I will be staying here for a while. Thank you for taking care of me, Mu Yu quickly said. To him, the antidote formula of the desolate ruins was insignificant. Not all demon clan members were scum like Long Xingyun. The demon clan members in the Valley of Dawn, at least in Mu Yu's eyes, were simple and honest people. Those who nitpicked on him, Madam Spider, Elder Silkworm, and the others, were just thinking about Xiao Shui. Mu Yu, you must be joking. When Xiao Shui came back, the white ape ancestor said that she missed a human boy. All the demon clan members in the Valley of Dawn were worried sick about Xiao Shui and wanted to find her a good man. But now it seems that Xiao Shui was right. We were just overthinking. The old doctor stroked his beard and smiled. In the demon clan's view, Xiao Shui would only find a good man if she married a demon clan member. It's useless for you to acknowledge me. That damned old monkey is still complaining about me. Mu Yu muttered. He had only saved the 9-tailed cat brothers, but all the demon clan members in the Valley of Dawn had changed their view of him. He had saved the white ape demon king from the 2nd layer of heaven, but the white ape demon king still shamelessly despised him and did not even thank him. Mu Yu, who is this old monkey you're talking about? Tell me and I'll help you. Did that mischievous Hoda Mao in the valley disrespect you? Don't worry, I'll warn him, the old doctor said solemnly. The old physician said solemnly. He thought that the old hairy monkey Mu Yu was talking about was a fae from the Valley of Dawn. Now that Mu Yu had brought out the antidote formula for the desolate ruins poison, it would be inexcusable if he was ignored. Old man, you can't make the decision. Xiao Shui laughed as he stood on Mu Yu's shoulder. The old doctor straightened his back and said, Don't worry, all the demon clan members in the Valley of Dawn will give me face. Even Monkey Dumao won't dare disobey me. The old monkey Mu Yu is talking about is the white ape demon king. Xiao Shui laughed. The old doctor's face froze. He looked frightened. What kind of existence was the white ape demon king? How could he make the decision? He regretted his words. Gossips about the demon king should not be spoken carelessly. Then, the old doctor seemed to have thought of something. he said in shock. Wait, Mu Yu, you're not the young human who saved the White Ape Demon King, are you? Mu Yu nodded and asked curiously. That's right. I was the one who saved that old monkey. Not only him, but even the Sea Demon King was saved by me. I thought you guys already knew about this. The old doctor opened his mouth wide, looking a little terrified. I haven't asked Xiao Shui about this. Oh my God! Didn't I just disrespect the benefactor of the 2 Demon King patriarchs? Mu Yu, please forgive me. I really didn't do it on purpose. The old doctor looked very anxious and uneasy. He seemed to be at a loss. Mu Yu laughed. It's okay. That old monkey doesn't like me anyway. If you deliberately make things difficult for me, that old monkey might even reward you. I won't take it to heart. Little friend Mu Yu must be joking. Little friend Mu Yu is really a magnanimous person. The old doctor gave a hollow laugh in fear. Chapter 752. What is it? The old doctor quickly asked. The antidote for the desolate ruin poison was of utmost importance. Nothing could go wrong. He thought that Mu Yu had forgotten to tell him something, so he immediately became cautious. It's actually not a big deal. You should have seen it earlier. This antidote requires Sir Sky Silkworm's blood as a catalyst. Of course, I don't know if you demons have howling sky butterflies. I remember that Sky Silkworm will become a howling sky butterfly after it evolves, Mu Yu said. Mu Yu had never seen a Sky Silkworm in the cultivation world before, because Sky Silkworm was a very rare demonic beast, and also the most difficult demonic beast to track. Their nests were very hidden. They would not leave any aura or traces wherever they went. Therefore, it was very difficult for ordinary cultivators to track them down. Mu Yu knew that Sky Silkworm's blood could be used as a catalyst because Deadwood Daddy had told him. Fortunately, Sky Silkworm was in the Valley of Dawn. Otherwise, he might not have been able to save the 9-tailed cat brothers. This is indeed a very troublesome matter. I'm worried that Sky Silkworm won't agree. After the old doctor read the antidote, he felt helpless. If Sky Silkworm was just a demon beast, the old doctor could just take some blood from it. However, Sky Silkworm was a demon. If the old doctor wanted to take blood from Sky Silkworm, he had to get Sky Silkworm's permission. What's wrong with that? Can't you just threaten him? Aren't you in the body integration stage? Are you afraid that he won't agree? Xiao Shui said casually. The old doctor shook his head and said sternly, Our Dawnlight Valley's Yao clan is different from the Dragon clan. We don't have a strict hierarchy here. Everyone has the right to live. No one has the right to force others to do anything. The most important thing is to live in harmony. The residents of the Valley of Dawn were all Yao clansmen who did not possess the bloodline of true dragons. They were far removed from the scheming and deceit of the dragons, so they did not need to worry about the successor of the Azure Dragon dynasty. Living in this valley, they had established their own system, so even Yao clansmen of different cultivation levels could joke around with each other. Mu Yu was quite fond of his life in the Valley of Dawn. There was no deception or deceit here. Compared to the 4 dragon tribes, this place was truly a paradise. Is Mr. Sky Silkworm the only Sky Silkworm demon in the Valley of Dawn? Mu Yu asked curiously. The old doctor said, No, it's Tian Kan's family. In the entire demon race, only Tian Kan's family has 3 in human form. Including the 5 Tian Kan demonic beasts that haven't gained intelligence, there are only 8 in total. 8 is indeed too few. Mu Yu pondered. When the old doctor was explaining the ruins, he had already said that the poisonous fog in the ruins would occasionally harm Yao clansmen. Most of them could not be cured and could only wait for death. Only 1 or 2 lucky ones were poisoned more deeply and ended up with permanent disabilities. The number of people poisoned each time varied. Sometimes there would be more than 10 people poisoned at once. Now that Mu Yu had given the antidote formula to the old doctor, if there were more people poisoned in the future, the amount of blood needed would be much more. The old doctor was worried that old man Tian Ken wouldn't agree to this. You can't do without even one ingredient. However, I think Mr. Sky Silkworm has a big heart and a fat body. He won't lose any weight even if he bleeds a bucket of blood. I'll go talk to him. Mu Yu chuckled. He bid farewell to the old doctor and went to the main street. He found Old Man Heavenly Silkworm eating a pork bun and bragging to the others about how he saved the nine-tailed cat brothers today. Tisk, stop bragging. Earlier, when Mu Yu drew some of your blood, you screamed like a pig being slaughtered. You were so unwilling, yet you still have the nerve to say it now. Madame Zhu was weaving her web at a nearby stall. The web she made was very sturdy and could be used to catch demon beasts. Even a fifth-rank demon beast couldn't break it. Madame Zhu, what are you talking about? I was just worried about the two young men, okay? That scream was my concern for them. Only by screaming loudly would my blood be more effective. Tian Ken patted his chubby chest and didn't feel embarrassed at all. Ah yes, that's right. Uncle Heavenly Silkworm's blood is very precious. Everyone, please take good care of Uncle Heavenly Silkworm in the future. If someone accidentally gets poisoned, you will need Uncle Heavenly Silkworm's blood to save your life. Mu Yu slowly walked over and said, That's right. Madame Zhu, if you continue to mock me, don't come and beg me if you get poisoned in the ruins. Ha! Tian Ken laughed proudly. You don't say. Master Heavenly Silkworm is a broad-minded demon. He's the kindest, most helpful elder I've ever met. If it weren't for Master Heavenly Silkworm today, Mao Dejiu and Mao Xiaojiu would be in trouble. Lord Tian Ken is really the hope of the demon race. Mu Yu continued to laugh. "Oh, you human brat, why are you so good at talking? Actually, I'm usually like this. It's just that you guys found out today. I've always been a low-key person. I don't leave my name when doing good deeds, only blood." Tian Ken was praised to the sky by Mu Yu. "That's why we don't have to worry about the poison in the ruins anymore. Sir Silkworm said that anyone who gets poisoned can ask him to draw their blood. Saving people has always been Sir Silkworm's style," Mu Yu continued. "That's right. Mu Yu is right. The more I look at you, the more I like you," Tian Ken said with a smile. Oh, did everyone hear that? Lord Tian Ken is willing to sacrifice himself for everyone. Next time, if there are 8 or 10 poisoned people, Lord Tian Ken will not frown even if he drains a vat of blood. Yes, it's like this. I can't help it. Who asked me to be so soft-hearted? I can't leave them to die. Before Tian Ken finish speaking, he suddenly realized something. His face immediately turned green. Bah! What vat of blood? What do you think I am? Blood-drinking pool? Madame Zhu was amused. Tian Ken, you are now the hope of our demon race. Isn't it good to go to the blood-drinking pool to save people in trouble? Didn't you just vow that you wouldn't leave any demon clansmen in the lurch? That's right, but no, that's because Old Man Tian Ken couldn't hold it in anymore. Just now, it was only because everyone was praising him that he went with the flow and accepted it. If he was forced to donate blood every day in the future, wouldn't he be squeezed dry? Lord Tian Ken, your blood is so expensive. What are you worried about in the future? Don't worry, everyone will take care of you. In the future, you can stay at home every day, eat and sleep, sleep and eat. Whatever you want to do, everyone will definitely satisfy you. Who would dare to provoke you? If any demon race is poisoned, you can just donate some blood. Isn't that good? Mu Yu smiled. You're right. After Old Man Tian Ken figured out what was at stake, he immediately beamed with joy. Although he was like a pig waiting to be slaughtered, no one would dare to offend him in the future, nor would they restrict him. Moreover, drawing a little blood like today was really nothing to him. Did you hear that? You have to treat me better in the future. Otherwise, if anyone is poisoned by the desolate ruins, don't blame me for not donating blood. Tian Can took a big bite of the meat bun and said arrogantly. When the other monster race members heard Mu Yu's analysis, they indeed felt that they could not offend Sky Silkworm in the future. They all began to praise Sky Silkworm, making him so happy that his eyes almost popped out. Mu Yu felt that Old Man Tian Can was not a bad person. He only said that to make Old Man Tian Can be valued by the other Yao clansmen in Dawn Valley. After all, Old Man Tian Can had a rare blood type that was 1 in a million. Xiao Shui squeezed through the crowd and went to Mu Yu's side without saying a word. Xiao Shui, you're back? Why did you take so long after breakfast? Where did you go? Mu Yu asked. I didn't go anywhere. I just remembered what a certain someone did last night. I was very displeased, so I went to the Dawn Valley and froze the stream to look like you before smashing it to vent my anger, Xiao Shui harumphed. Mu Yu shrugged. Girls are so complicated. Even the way they vent their anger is so strange. Hey, did you hear about how I heroically saved someone? Mu Yu whispered into Xiao Shui's ear. Xiao Shui harumphed. I heard from Uncle Giant Elephant that you did a good deed. Look, I did a good deed for you demons. Why didn't you praise me? Besides, I didn't do anything wrong last night. Mu Yu whispered into Xiao Shui's ear. Xiao Shui stomped on Mu Yu's foot. Xiao Shui, it looks like you've taken a fancy to a pretty good kid. The old physician walked over with a smile. Grandpa Physician, please don't make fun of me. Xiao Shui blushed. Our Xiao Shui has grown up. I was going to say that anyone who wants to be Xiao Shui's husband has to get our approval, but it looks like Mu Yu is qualified, the old physician said with a smile as he stroked his white beard. Yeah. I won't object to this marriage. Mu Yu, it doesn't matter if your skin isn't white enough. Try to use more skincare prescriptions in the future, Old Man Tian Can said. Not bad. It's fine if you don't know how to sew. Auntie won't object either, Madame Zhu said with a smile. The other demons also changed their opinion of Mu Yu. In the past, anyone who got poisoned would lose an arm or a leg, and those who got poisoned would die without a doubt. Who would have thought that Mu Yu would be able to save the 9-tailed cat brothers? Did you hear that? No one objects. Mu Yu chuckled. Shut up. I haven't settled the score with you for what happened last night. Xiao Shui glared at Mu Yu, then pulled Mu Yu into the house. The demons in the Dawn Valley were all discussing Mu Yu, but no one noticed that 2 demons had sneaked into the Dawn Valley. They hid in the distance and stared at Mu Yu and Xiao Shui's backs until they disappeared into the house. Big brother, what should we do now? That human kid has gained the approval of all the demons in the Dawn Valley. If we try to find fault with him, we'll probably be rejected by them, a shifty-eyed man whispered. That kid has some skills, but if Lord Jade Serpent wants him dead, the Dawn Valley won't be able to protect him. The other man called Big Brother said coldly. These 2 were sent by the Jade Serpent to assassinate Mu Yu. The big brother was called Jiao Dahu and the second brother was called Jiao Dalong. Both of them were at the 6th heavenly layer of the body integration stage. In their opinion, the 2 of them were more than enough to deal with Mu Yu. We need to take our time. I don't think that kid has exposed Dragon Vine's identity in front of all the demons. This is even better. We can do it without anyone knowing, and we won't cause any trouble, Jiao Dahu said viciously as he rubbed the mole on his chin. He turned his gaze to Old Man Tian Can, who was still feeling smug, with a vicious glint in his eyes. Chapter 753. Mu Yu had already stayed in Dawn Valley for 4 days. During these 4 days, Mu Yu had a very comfortable time. Every day, Madame Zhu and the others would send delicious food to Xiao Shui. The demons in Dawn Valley were very good to Xiao Shui, as if she was their own daughter. Mu Yu also benefited from it and ate a lot. Of course, most of it went into Xiao Shui's stomach. Xiao Shui would always lock the door when she slept at night, not giving Mu Yu any chance. Moreover, Xiao Shui would run out of Dawn Valley every morning to cultivate, not giving Mu Yu any chance. A man and a woman alone in a room, it's very normal for things to go wrong. Mu Yu would mutter every time. Then, Xiao Shui would fiercely glare at Mu Yu. Mu Yu, do you think we should go take a look at the desolate ruins? Staying here is boring to death. Long Ting yawned. That's right. Our skin is thick and we won't be poisoned. Xiao Shui ate the pork bun he took from Madame Zhu. The food in the demon race was pretty good and they could eat and drink for free here. Don't go to the desolate ruins. I can filter poison like you, but it's not as simple as poisonous fog. Xiao Shui said solemnly. Then what else is there? Mu Yu asked. Last time, I heard Grandpa Azure Dragon mention that it's an ancient battlefield. It's a forbidden area of the third heaven. If one's cultivation hasn't reached the Great Ascension stage, they won't be able to withstand the pressure there. Xiao Shui said. Ancient battlefield? Who is it for? Mu Yu was even more puzzled. Only Great Ascension stage cultivators can go there. Is there a need to ask? It's definitely for Great Ascension stage cultivators. Xiao Shui said. Mu Yu felt that it wasn't that simple, but he was too lazy to look into it. He still had a lot of troublesome things to do, so he didn't have time to care about some ancient battlefield. Mu Yu's motto was to stay in the Valley of Dawn and be a good boy who knew his place. He would not cause any trouble. In fact, Mu Yu had always adhered to this principle. Ever since he left the Moyen mountain range, he wanted to be a quiet cultivator. However, things often went beyond his expectations. For example, he went to the Withered Tree Valley to look for something to eat, but in the end, he was chosen by the Withered Tree to be his disciple. He had only gone to the Pill Cauldron School to get a spot, but in the end, he had accidentally extorted all the alchemists and had even muddle-headedly obtained the identity of a branch master. He only went to the Array sect to learn a little about array techniques, but in the end, he accidentally became the sect master of the Array Glyph sect. He had gone to Clearwater City with the sole intention of killing Tian Bushi, but in the end, he had been embroiled in a messy conflict with Xiang Nan. Therefore, Mu Yu promised that he would only be an easygoing guest when he came to the demon race. However, Mu Yu knew that things weren't that simple. Previously, he had beaten up Jiao Xinghua so badly that he had to look for his teeth on the ground. However, he didn't see Jiao Xinghua come to disturb him. It was obviously unreasonable for him to swallow his anger. Xiao Shui, the 4 great dragon races have such a high status in the Azure Dragon dynasty. Why haven't they come to find trouble with me yet? Mu Yu asked. They won't casually cause trouble here, Xiao Shui said. Why? I thought that the demon race with the true dragon bloodline would look down on the demon race without the true dragon bloodline. Isn't it normal for them to cause trouble here? That was the case in the past. However, this is Aunt Luan Feng's territory now. She protects the demon race and will mercilessly throw out the dragon race who dares to cause trouble. Xiao Shui laughed. Who is Luan Feng? Luan Feng Demon King. Wait, you demon race have a demon king? Mu Yu was stunned. Yes. Didn't I tell you? 10 years ago, Aunt Luan Feng broke free from her seal. It was at that time that the demon race without the true dragon bloodline truly had their own status. Under Aunt Luan Feng's protection, they were able to stand on equal footing with the dragon race. Xiao Shui was very respectful when mentioning Luan Feng Demon King. Why didn't you tell me such an important matter? Mu Yu didn't know that they had found a demon king 10 years ago. He always thought that the demon race only had the Azure Dragon Demon King, the White Ape Demon King, and the recently rescued Sea Demon King. The sudden appearance of Luan Feng Demon King really surprised Mu Yu. Is this matter very important? What does Aunt Luan Feng breaking free from her seal have to do with you? Xiao Shui asked curiously. Mu Yu rubbed his nose. It really didn't seem to be related. Up until now, Mu Yu had already met a few demon kings, and he had also formed a strange relationship with them. First, he released the White Ape Demon King, then he came into contact with the Desert Eagle Demon King, and then he saved the Sea Demon King. He felt that he and the Demon Kings were fated. The birth of the Demon King was of utmost importance to the demon race. They had kept the news a secret. Even though the human race had noticed some clues, the fact that the Luan Phoenix Demon King had broken free from the seal had been hidden from all the self-cultivators. This was truly amazing. Why didn't you tell me about our close relationship earlier? I suddenly feel a bit sad. Mu Yu sighed. I don't think it's necessary to tell you. You didn't ask me, Xiao Shui said indifferently. Then there are no other demon kings in the demon race right now, right? Mu Yu asked helplessly. No, we're still looking for the other demon king's seals. The reason I brought you to Dawn Valley is because this place is basically anti-Luan Feng's territory. Oh right, Uncle White Ape is here too. Lord Sea Goblin King should be staying here too, Xiao Shui said. 3 demon kings living here? Isn't it crowded? There are only a few areas where the demon race live. The other areas are all mixed up with the dragon race and the demon race. Auntie Luan Feng was very dissatisfied with Grandpa Azure Dragon's actions. She felt that Grandpa Azure Dragon wanted the demon race to respect his descendant. This was unfair to the other demon race. So Auntie Luan Feng built Dawn Valley 10 years ago and only allowed the demon race without the true dragon bloodline to live here. Grandpa Azure Dragon couldn't do anything about it. After all, the demon race's top priority right now is to unite, so he just let Auntie Luan Feng do it. That Luan Feng Demon King is really a blessing for the other demon race. Mu Yu couldn't help but admire the Luan Feng Demon King. She dared to do this in the Azure Dragon dynasty, so she was a decisive person. Sister Xiao Shui, why do all the demon race take care of you so much? They even send you delicious food every day. Xiao Shui asked with grease dripping from his mouth. A clear spring appeared on Xiao Shui's fingertips. It's because of my ability to control water. The water in this desolate area can't be drunk carelessly. The large river that we passed when we first came here came from the desolate ruins. It has a weak poison, so if you drink too much, you will be poisoned. Fortunately, I can filter the poison, so I can provide them with pure water. I can even use the water to help them grow crops. That's why they take care of me. Xiao Shui's ability was hated by the human race, but the demon race treated her like a treasure. This made Xiao Shui find her value in existence, so she liked the demon race very much. Little brother Mu Yu, the old doctor wants you to go to his place. The charming fox swayed her slender waist as she came to Xiao Shui's house. Her face was full of charm as she threw a flirtatious glance at Mu Yu. Mu Yu was helpless against this naturally charming woman. Every time he met her, she would throw flirtatious glances at him. She was even brazen in front of Xiao Shui. Sometimes, she would even make Mu Yu's heart flutter. I know, you guys have a good chat. Mu Yu got up and left the house, flying towards the old doctor's clinic. Ever since Mu Yu created the prescription to cure the 9-tailed cat brother's poison in the desolate ruins, and gave the prescription to the old doctor for free, the old doctor had a whole new level of respect for Mu Yu. From time to time, he would ask Mu Yu about some medical problems, and Mu Yu would answer all of his questions. Living in this barren land, the demon race would fall sick from time to time. Perhaps it was related to the desolate ruins, but many diseases were very difficult to deal with. Sometimes, they couldn't be cured by relying on their own cultivation. Even body integration stage demon race would be tormented by some diseases. Everyone would come to the old doctor when they were sick. The old doctor was very experienced, but there were many diseases that he couldn't do anything about. For example, he had a chronic disease that he couldn't cure. Little friend Mu Yu, I'm not afraid of you laughing at me. Today, I called you here to help me take a look at what's wrong with my arm. Every few days, I feel as if my arm is on fire. This pain goes deep into my bones, and even my spirit power can't stop it. Even if I use painkillers, it's useless." The old doctor rolled up his sleeves, revealing his upper arm, and said eagerly, "Your arm hurts." Muyu felt that this was very strange. He carefully checked the old doctor's arm, but he didn't find anything strange. There was no poison, no external injuries, nothing at all. Muyu asked, "What are the specific symptoms? For example, when it happens, and when it hurts?" The old doctor said, "That's not necessarily true, but when it happens, my entire arm feels like it's burning. Furthermore, there will be some strange patterns on my arm. I still can't explain this situation." "Yes, it's a type of pattern. Not only me, many demon race people have this situation, but everyone has different parts of their bodies. Some people have hands, some people have legs, and the patterns are different. We have never understood this matter, even the Azure Dragon ancestor didn't know, so I was thinking about whether you could help us solve this problem." The old doctor took out a book from the table and handed it to Muyu. "This is the pattern I recorded. Everyone's pattern is different when it happens, and these patterns have no pattern. We were just wondering if we had been poisoned by the Desolate Ruins, but the Desolate Ruins poison would make people die very quickly, and we are still alive, so it might not be the Desolate Ruins poison." Muyu flipped through the patterns recorded by the old doctor. These patterns were indeed very strange, like graffiti. Some of them were formed by a few lines, and some of them were groups of gray stripe. Muyu had never heard of such a situation when one was in pain. "When did this disease start?" Muyu asked. He was also very familiar with diseases. In the past, Deadwood Daddy would often bring him to treat the mortals who had the plague. "About a year ago. It's been almost 2 years. At that time, many of our clansmen began to experience this condition. The timing of the outbreak was not fixed. Some people would have an outbreak once a month, some once every 7 days, and some once every day. Each time, it would not last for long, just for a short while, and then return to normal. So many people did not take it to heart, but I found a strange pattern." Chapter 754. The younger the person, the higher the cultivation, the more frequent the attacks. The attacks happen at night when we're resting. During the attacks, we feel like our bodies are being invaded and we can't control them. However, once we wake up, we'll go back to normal, the old doctor said. "Can't control the body?" Muyu frowned. Resting at night was when a person's consciousness was at its weakest. How could this strange disease control the body? What was the cause of all this? Muyu pondered for a long time but still couldn't figure out what was going on. The demons had lived on this land for more than 5,000 years, but this had never happened before. Why did it happen in the past 2 years? "Does this happen to all the demons?" Muyu asked again. The old doctor shook his head. "Not all of them. At first, there were only a few, but it gradually increased. The Valley of Dawn is the closest living area to the ruins. It's only separated by a vast plain and a forest. More people are affected here. Perhaps half of the people in the Valley of Dawn are affected. Usually, when the attacks happen, we'll wake up from the pain, so no one really cares." "What about the types of demons that attack?" "I've analyzed it carefully. It has nothing to do with our bodies, but it's related to cultivation. Normally, this strange disease will appear at the nascent soul realm. After all, the old doctor was a doctor. He was reliable. He recorded down the patient's symptoms to find a pattern, but unfortunately, he couldn't find any abnormalities. Muyu was also clueless. The old doctor looked a bit disappointed, but he still said, "It's okay. Even the Luan Feng ancestor can't do anything about it. I'm just trying to ask. Anyway, it doesn't affect our daily lives, so it doesn't matter." At that moment, Xiao Shui suddenly walked into the clinic and said anxiously, "Dr. Muyu, come and take a look. Something happened to Grandpa Tian-kan." "Grandpa Tian-kan? What happened to Grandpa Tian-kan?" Mu Yu and the old doctor looked at each other. They still needed to rely on Grandpa Tian Can to deal with the poisonous fog in the ruins. What could have happened to him now? The two of them didn't ask for details and immediately followed Xiao Shui out of the clinic. They came to the main street and followed Xiao Shui to the old man's residence. Old man Tian Can's house wasn't considered high, and it was very close to the main street. At this moment, everyone seemed to be surrounding old man Tian Can's house, as though they were pointing and whispering about something. What happened? Mu Yu and Xiao Shui tried their best to open up a path and brought the old doctor into the crowd. However, they found the heavenly silkworm old man and a chubby heavenly silkworm old madam sitting on the ground. The two of them were each holding a 2-foot-long snow-white heavenly silkworm and were crying very sadly. Old Doctor Mu Yu, you came just in time. Hurry and help old man Tian Can's family. Madame Zhu anxiously said from the side. What's wrong with Lord Heavenly Silkworm? Mu Yu looked at the two heavenly silkworms in old man Tian Can's and Madame Tian Can's arms. Next to them was a timid little girl who looked very similar to old man Tian Can. She was little heavenly silkworm, who had already taken human form. Mu Yu carefully counted. He remembered that there were 8 heavenly silkworms in the family, but now there were only 3 who had taken human form. Including the 2 heavenly silkworms in his arms, where did the other 2 heavenly silkworms go? Old Doctor, before Patriarch Luan Feng left, she said to look for you if anything happened. You have to help us. My 3 children are gone. Old man Tian Can said with a sad and sorrowful face. The 3 children are missing? Mu Yu was shocked. Only heavenly silkworm old man Tian Can's family of 8 in the Valley of Dawn. Now that Mu Yu had taken out the antidote, heavenly silkworms had become an existence that everyone wanted to protect. It wasn't a good thing that 3 of them were missing. Don't worry. Could the 3 of them have gone somewhere to play? Have you looked everywhere for them? The old doctor asked solemnly. Heavenly silkworm's blood was extremely precious now. They couldn't afford to lose it, so the old doctor took this matter very seriously. Yesterday, he had personally talked to old man Tian Can. Old man Tian Can agreed that if anyone in the Valley of Dawn was poisoned by the desolate ruins in the future, he would donate blood. He didn't expect something to happen to heavenly silkworm today. Old doctor, you know that our children don't like to run around. They can understand me. In another 2 or 3 years, they will gain intelligence, so they haven't even gone out of the door. Because 2 of the little treasures have been a little unwell these few days, we brought the 2 little treasures to sleep and put the 3 little treasures in another room. But when I woke up in the morning, I found that the 3 children were missing. Also, there were blood stains beside their beds. It was my children's blood. Old man Tian Can said as he wiped his tears. Bloodstains? Let's go and take a look. The old doctor said. Old man Tian Can brought the old doctor and the others home. Mu Yu followed behind. Old man Tian Can's house emitted the smell of tiansang leaves and pork buns. The entire room was at the bottom of the cliff, but it was very bright and had plenty of light. The moment Mu Yu entered old man Tian Can's house, the distribution of the tiansang trees was reflected in his mind in detail. He immediately knew where the 3 heavenly silkworms were resting. However, he didn't say anything. He felt that something was amiss. The old doctor carefully checked the place where the heavenly silkworm babies usually slept. There were some white bloodstains on it. Other than that, there was nothing suspicious. Mu Yu walked to the side of the mulberry leaves and touched them. He didn't find anything unusual. As the heavenly silkworms didn't leave behind any aura, Mu Yu couldn't find them through the mulberry leaves. Old doctor, what should we do now? I'm worried that someone will harm my children. Old Lady Tian Can cried until her eyes were red. Then, she pointed at Mu Yu and said, It's all because of you, human outsider. Before you came, we were living well. When you came, you said that our heavenly silkworm race's blood could cure the desolate ruins poison. You must have stolen our children. Xiao Shui quickly stood out and said, Old Lady Tian Can, Mu Yu has always been with me. Besides, he wouldn't do such a thing. I can guarantee it. I don't know if he would do such a thing, but when he came to Dawn Valley, he said that our heavenly silkworm's blood could cure the poison. Then, my children went missing. This matter must have something to do with him. Old Lady Tian Can said unyieldingly. Mu Yu frowned and said solemnly, Old Man Tian Can, Old Lady Tian Can, I don't need to steal your children. That day, I only attacked you to save the nine-tailed cat brothers. I don't need the heavenly silkworm's blood for anything. Then why did something happen to my children? They have been fine for so many years, but when you came, they disappeared. You are the most suspicious. Old Lady Tian Can said unyieldingly. Old Man Tian Can didn't say anything, but he didn't look at Mu Yu in a friendly manner either. Old Lady Tian Can. Xiao Shui wanted to say something, but Mu Yu held her hand and shook his head gently. Old Lady Tian Can was naturally anxious after losing her children. No matter what harsh words she said, it was understandable. Mu Yu didn't need to explain anything to a mother who lost her children. He believed that the old doctor could uphold justice. The old doctor pondered for a moment and said, We can't jump to conclusions now, but I can guarantee that it wasn't Mu Yu who did it. Your heavenly silkworm's ability is too special. You can't track his scent. Everyone, look around Dawn Valley and see if you can find any traces of heavenly silkworm Lil Bao. There was no other way at the moment, so they all left Old Man Tian Can's house. Just as they were about to look around, they met two demons. It was Jiao Dahu and Jiao Delong. What happened here? Why is it so noisy? Jiao Dahu asked with a fake smile. What are you two doing in Dawn Valley? Xiao Shui knew the identities of Jiao Dahu and Jiao Delong. They were both subordinates of Jade Flood Dragon in the Northern Ocean Abyss. They were also relatives of Jade Flood Dragon. Their cultivation was high, but they were mean. We're here to look for Mu Yu. Mu Yu attacked other demons at the Azure Dragon Imperial City for no reason. We're here on Lord Jade Flood Dragon's orders to invite him over to explain this matter. Jiao Dahu said with a fake smile. Mu Yu snorted coldly. I don't think there's anything to explain. How dare you? You're a human who attacked us demons in our territory. How dare you be so arrogant? Jiao Delong shouted angrily. So you've injured other demon clansmen. Then our child must have something to do with you. Heavenly Silkworm Ant suddenly pointed at Mu Yu and cried. Your children? What happened to your children? Jiao Dahu asked in surprise. Once again, Heavenly Silkworm Ant burst into tears. With tears and snot, she told Ji about how she lost her 3 children, who had yet to gain intelligence. Jiao Dahu suddenly understood. He stopped smiling and said solemnly, Old Lady Tian Can, don't cry. Ancestor Luan Feng isn't here, so us brothers will help you. If this human outsider has really done something unforgivable, we will definitely seek justice for all of you. Jiao Dahu, this is Dawn Valley. It's not your place to preside over justice. The old doctor scolded from the side. Yes. The old doctor is right. With the old doctor here, us brothers naturally have no right to speak. Jiao Dahu revealed a fake smile and quickly bowed towards the old doctor. Clearly, the old doctor's status in the entire demon race was very high. Even the 2 brothers had some misgivings and didn't dare to offend him here. Little treasure Heavenly Silkworm should have left some scent, right? Can't you track the clothes it left behind? Jiao Delong asked from the side. Old Man Tian Can shook his head with a sad face. We heavenly silkworms don't leave any scent behind. There's no way to track it. Heavenly silkworms were a very weak and rare demon beast. Because of this, they had some special self-protection abilities. No matter where they went, they wouldn't leave any scent behind. This was originally the most suitable way to avoid their natural enemies. However, at this time, it became a troublesome matter. I remember that Dawn Valley has a brother called the 10-Direction Blood Dog, right? He has the best sense of smell in our demon race. No blood can escape his tracking. You can ask him to track the blood or something, Jiao Dahu said with a concerned expression. Chapter 755. Jiao Dahu's expression changed slightly, but he quickly covered it up with a smile. Of course I don't know. I'm just asking to make sure. That's right. Omnidirectional hound. There's Xiaobao's blood in the house. Old man Tian Can immediately reacted. They had panicked when they saw that Xiaobao had gone missing. They had almost forgotten that the omnidirectional hound brothers could help them track the blood. Although Skysilks did not leave behind any scent, not even the scent of blood, Omnidirectional Hound had a special ability. He could sense the location of the blood's owner, not by scent but by blood. But Omnidirectional Hound went out yesterday. He said he was going to the city to find his uncle. He won't be back for a while, Madame Zhu said. Then what should we do? Old man Tian Can was anxious. Time waited for no one. I'm back, I'm back. Just then, a young man with a red face ran over. It was Omnidirectional Hound from the Valley of Dawn. Why are you back? I thought you'd be back in a few days. Madame Zhu asked curiously. Oh, it's like this. I met a stranger in the city this morning. He said something happened in the Valley of Dawn. Omnidirectional Hound was about to explain, but Jiao Dahu immediately interrupted him. It's good that you're back. Let's not gossip now. Hurry up and find Xiaobao. Mu Yu frowned and coldly glanced at Jiao Dahu, the doubts in his heart growing deeper and deeper. Yes, yes, yes. Hurry, there's Xiaobao's blood in the house. Old man Tian Can grabbed Omnidirectional Hound's hand and ran into the house. Everyone re-entered the house and saw Omnidirectional Hound squatting on the ground. He carefully dipped his finger in Xiaobao's blood and put it under his nose to smell it. Red spiritual energy emerged from his hand and extracted the blood from his finger. It floated in the air. Blood spirit return. The 10-Direction Blood Dog formed a seal and injected his spiritual power into the drop of blood. The drop of blood trembled and began to float out of the window. I used a spell on this drop of blood. It'll find Xiaobao. Omnidirectional Hound leaped out of the window and followed the drop of blood. The other demonic beasts also rose into the air and followed behind Bloodhound. The more Mu Yu thought about it, the more he felt that something was amiss. Jiao Dahu and Jiao Dalong's actions were strange, and the timing of their arrival was also very coincidental. If the two of them were here to cause trouble for Mu Yu, they should have arrived a few days ago, but they chose to come at this time. Not only that, but the moment Jiao Dahu arrived, he asked if there was any blood left behind. He also reminded everyone that there was a Yao called the 10-Direction Hound in the Valley of Dawn. Auntie Zhu said that when the 10-Direction Hound wasn't around, the 10-Direction Hound came back. When the 10-Direction Hound was explaining why he came back, Jiao Dahu interrupted him and didn't let him finish. Everything seemed to have been planned. Mu Yu glanced at Jiao Dahu and found that he was also looking at him with a strange smile. He already knew that this matter was definitely related to Jiao Dahu and Jiao Dalong. How could this be? Qiao Shui suddenly exclaimed, attracting Mu Yu's attention. Mu Yu shifted his gaze to the drop of blood, only to find that the drop of blood was actually heading straight for Qiao Shui's house. His expression changed slightly, but it was already too late. Because all the Yao clan members had followed and started discussing. They were all very surprised by the direction the drop of blood was heading. The drop of blood followed Qiao Shui's house and turned a corner, arriving at the corridor outside Qiao Shui's house. There was a piece of cloth in the corner of the corridor, and the drop of blood just happened to be floating on the cloth. Could it be? Could it be that Xiaobao sneaked over to Qiao Shui's house to play? Elder Tian Can was faster than anyone else. He had already landed in the corridor and lifted the cloth. Then, his body shook violently. Mu Yu flew to the side and saw the situation under the cloth. His expression changed greatly. It was a very bloody scene. A 2-chi-long silkworm had a gash on its body. It was no longer breathing, and its entire body was shriveled up as if all its blood had been sucked out. There was a wooden bucket beside the corpse, and the bucket was filled with white blood. It was the blood of the silkworm. Xiaobao, Xiaobao. Old man Heavenly Silkworm was instantly frightened. He wanted to pick up his child, but he didn't know what to do. Little treasure Heavenly Silkworm's chubby body was only left with shriveled skin. The white bucket of blood beside it was a ghastly sight. Xiaobao, my Xiaobao. Oh my God! My Xiaobao! Elder Tian Can's mother immediately burst into heart-wrenching cries. She hugged Xiaobao's shriveled corpse in her arms and sobbed uncontrollably. It's you! It's you! You killed my Xiaobao! Elder Tian Can's eyes were about to pop out of their socket. He suddenly turned around and pounced at Mu Yu. However, he was only at the out-of-body stage. How could he hurt Mu Yu? Mu Yu only raised his hand and restrained Elder Tian Can. I didn't do this. Mu Yu said solemnly. Damned human, how dare you say you didn't do it? If you didn't do it, why would Xiaobao's corpse appear in Xiao Shue's house? Only you and Xiao Shui live in this house. We watched Xiao Shui grow up. She won't do this. The only one who can do this is you. Heavenly Silkworm Aunt cried her heart out. It can't be Mu Yu. I guarantee it with my life. Xiao Shui couldn't bear to look at Xiaobao's miserable state. She was also flustered because Xiaobao's blood had been cruelly sucked dry. Only a layer of skin was left. There was even a bucket of blood beside it. This method of killing was too cruel. The others couldn't help but look away. To be able to kill Xiaobao, who was still in swaddling clothes and had no ability to protect himself, and even suck his blood dry, was too outrageous. How dare you say Mu Yu didn't do it? You're the only human who came here for the past few days. Could it be that it was done by us demons? Jiao Dahe said angrily. That's right. Nothing happened to Xiaobao for so many years, but in the end, he ended up in such a miserable state. Everyone might not know, but Mu Yu severely injured Jiao Xinghua a few days ago at the entrance of King City for no reason. Jiao Xinghua is still unconscious. Jiao Dahe said loudly. At this moment, the shifter race members of Dawn Valley began to whisper among themselves. Back when Mu Yu had saved the nine-tailed cat brothers, they had reluctantly acknowledged him. However, when they recalled how Mu Yu had forcibly extracted Old Man Heavenly Silkworm's blood, and now that they had seen Heavenly Silkworm and Little Bao's miserable state, coupled with Flood Dragon Great Wolf fanning the flames, their gazes toward Mu Yu had changed. Could it really be done by Mu Yu? I don't know. He's the only one who knows that Xiaobao's blood can cure the Desolate Ruins poison, right? He must be trying to use Xiaobao's blood to do some shady business. I already said that outsiders can't be trusted. Why did Xiao Shui bring a human back? The demons all began to blame Mu Yu. Everyone was certain that this matter was related to Mu Yu because only Mu Yu knew how to mix Xiaobao's blood with the medicine. Mu Yu said in a deep voice, I don't know why Xiaobao's corpse would appear here, but anyone could have done it. Anyone could have placed Xiaobao's corpse here without anyone knowing when Xiao Shui and I weren't around. Mu Yu knew that this matter was definitely done by Jiao Dahu and Jiao Dahu, but he didn't have any evidence. Even if he had those suspicions, he couldn't prove that it was related to these two fellows. So you're saying that someone from Dawn Valley killed Xiaobao? Jiao Dahu sneered. Uncle Toad frowned and said, How could we have killed Xiaobao? That's right. What nonsense are you talking about? Mu Yu glared at Jiao Da. The two of you came to Dawn Valley the moment something happened. Aren't the two of you suspicious? Don't try to slander us. The two of us came here to find you. It seems that not only did you injure someone in King City, you even killed Xiaobao here. The two of us are here on Lord Jade Flooddragon's orders to get rid of you." He was obviously the one who had killed Heavenly Silkworm, but Xiao Dahu was not worried at all. All he had to do was instigate the demon beasts of the Valley of Dawn to clear his name. They were not here for no reason, they were here for a reason. Mu Yu was infuriated. He didn't have any evidence to absolve himself. Moreover, Xiao Dahu and Xiao Delong were both Yao. Even if the Yao in the Valley of Dawn didn't welcome the Dragon Clan, between the Yao and the humans, the Yao would definitely trust their own people more. He didn't expect that his kindness in saving the nine-tailed cat brothers would lead to Heavenly Silkworm and Little Bao being killed. Xiao Dahu and Xiao Delong were truly vicious. In order to frame him, they didn't even spare the children of their own clan. There is only one Heavenly Silkworm Little Treasure's corpse here. Where did you hide the other two Heavenly Silkworm Little Treasures? Hurry up and hand over the other two, and I'll leave your corpse intact. Xiao Dahu bared his sharp tiger claws, his eyes glinting fiercely. The flood dragon Big Wolf also growled at the side, ready to attack. Hurry up and return my other two children to me. Old Man Tian Can shouted in grief. He was still restrained by Mu Yu and couldn't move, but he was certain that Mu Yu was the one who did it. Doctor, you're the most respected person in Dawn Valley. You have to seek justice for us. Xiao Dahu's mother cried. The old doctor stepped forward and looked at Mu Yu with a complicated expression. He then said to everyone, I think there's something fishy about this. I don't believe that Mu Yu did it. There's no direct evidence that Mu Yu is involved. The old doctor was still on Mu Yu's side. Why would a person who was willing to share the antidote for the desolate ruins poison kill Xiao Dahu? However, Xiao Dahu shouted, Doctor, we respect you as a senior of the demons, but I'm afraid it's not good for you to protect an outsider like this. Could it be that you're also involved in this matter? How dare you? Since when are you in charge of the Dawn Valley's territory? The old doctor said angrily. We're both demons. I'm just speaking up for my own people. If you stop us from capturing the culprit, then you're also very suspicious. Xiao Dahu wanted to drag the old doctor down with him. More and more Yao clansmen had arrived. There were also powerful Yao clansmen in the Valley of Dawn. Although Mu Yu was not afraid of a fight, if she hurt any of the Yao clansmen, it would be difficult for her to explain herself. Mu Yu didn't do this. He's being framed. Qiao Shui stood beside Mu Yu and anxiously faced all the demons. Qiao Shui, move aside. This matter has nothing to do with you. We don't want to hurt you. A body fusion stage demon said in a deep voice. Mu Yu let go of Tian Can, who was restrained by him, and held Qiao Shui's hand. He said in a voice that no one else could hear, Don't be rash. I'll investigate this matter thoroughly. Stay here and let me take care of you. If you go against them, it won't be good for you either. Mu Yu knew that it was difficult to offend the public. Xiao Dahu and Xiao Delong had come prepared. He had no evidence to prove his innocence. If he stayed here, he would implicate the old doctor and Qiao Shui, who were protecting him. Can you do it alone? Qiao Shui was very anxious. The threefold palace can't kill me. The people from the gate of hell can't kill me. Do you think these two can kill me? I'll leave the Dawn Valley first and investigate this matter in secret. After Mu Yu finished speaking, he turned his head and said coldly to Xiao Dahu and Xiao Delong, You too, I know that you killed Tian Can. I'll settle the score with you. The runes under Mu Yu's feet flashed, and he disappeared on the spot. Not good. He's trying to escape. Chase him. Xiao Dahu shouted. He took the lead and chased after Mu Yu. However, Mu Yu's speed was much faster than the demons. When they chased him out of the Dawn Valley, Mu Yu was nowhere to be seen. In a forest, Mu Yu sat on a tree branch. He was a little annoyed. Xiao Dahu and Xiao Delong were too ruthless. He didn't expect them to use such a method to deal with him. He thought that the Dawn Valley was a paradise. He didn't expect that such a peaceful place would be tainted by evil people. Damn it, I was too careless. The past few days in the Dawn Valley had been very peaceful. Muyu had forgotten that there were still people outside who wanted to cause trouble for him. Today's matter must have been to attract everyone's attention when Tian Can found out that Xiao Bao was missing. Then, Jiao Dahu and Jiao Dalong would take advantage of Qiao Shui and Mu Yu's absence to place Tian Can and Xiao Bao's corpse in Qiao Shui's house. Then, they would come and lead everyone. This method of framing people was impossible to guard against. It was difficult for him, a human, to reason with the demons in their territory. Especially today's matter. He knew that Jiao Dahu and Jiao Dalong were the culprits, but he didn't have any evidence to prove it. Mu Yu, you should let me come out and give them a warning. We don't need to run at all. Long Ting felt very wronged. Indeed, with Long Ting's status, as long as he stood out and roared, no one would dare to do anything to him. But what about after scaring the demons? He still wouldn't be able to clear his name. Moreover, if he didn't leave the Dawn Valley now, when the Jade Jiao Dragon of the Northern Abyss came personally, he could completely ignore Long Ting's dignity and subdue Mu Yu first. At that time, both he and Long Ting would be in danger. Our top priority now is to find the other two Tian Can babies. We can't expose our whereabouts. Mu Yu had to investigate this matter thoroughly. Chapter 756. Mu Yu shook his head. No, if they wanted to kill the other two, they would have left them at the scene. That would have infuriated the demons in the Valley of Dawn even more. However, they didn't do that. I'm guessing that they wanted to incite the demons to force me to hand over the two little treasures so that they could attack me together. On the other hand, they might have found out that the blood of the heavenly silkworm babies could cure the poison in the desolate ruins. He believed that the latter was more likely. The heavenly silkworm was a rare demon beast. Since they didn't leave any traces, they weren't afraid of being tracked. Even if they were stolen, as long as they didn't leave behind any blood, they wouldn't be found by the demons in the Valley of Dawn. Among the demons, only the heavenly silkworm old man's family lived in the Valley of Dawn under the protection of the Luan Phoenix Demon King. In the past, no one knew the value of their blood, so it didn't matter. However, Jiao Dahu and Jiao Dalong knew that Mu Yu used the heavenly silkworm blood to save people. Since the poison in the desolate ruins often hurt demons, Mu Yu guessed that they might have other ideas about the heavenly silkworm babies. The entire forest was filled with the shadows of the demon race. They were all searching for Mu Yu. Mu Yu had already seen no less than 10 demon race members walking past him. However, he had set up an invisibility array, so no one discovered his existence. Mu Yu planned in his heart. He needed to clear himself of suspicion. Then, he would punish Jiao Dahu and Jiao Dalong on the spot to avenge the innocent heavenly silkworm babies. North Shore Abyss. A luxurious courtyard was located on a hill. This was where the Jade Serpent usually dealt with matters. At this moment, he was sitting on a chair and looking at 2 baskets in front of the table. The baskets were covered with cloth while Jiao Dahu and Jiao Dalong stood respectfully to the side. You two didn't catch Mu Yu? The Jade Serpent's voice was filled with anger. Jiao Dahu and Jiao Dalong flinched. Sir, that human brat is too cunning. He's too fast. We couldn't catch up with him, Jiao Dahu said respectfully. Then why didn't you go and catch him? Why did you bring me 2 baskets? The Jade Serpent asked sternly. Jiao Dahu quickly lifted the cloth covering the baskets. The heavenly silkworm babies were inside. Milord, these are 2 heaven silkworms that have yet to awaken their intelligence. They are rare treasures. Jiao Dahu quickly said. 2 despicable worms and a treasure? Are you 2 here to make fun of me? The Jade Serpent slammed the table and emitted a terrifying pressure. The 2 silkworms in the basket were so scared that they curled up. Jiao Dahu and Jiao Dalong quickly knelt down. My lord, please calm down. This subordinate would never dare to make fun of Sir. When we were on our way to Dawn Valley, we saw the human Mu Yu using the heavenly silkworm's blood to save the nine-tailed cat brothers who were poisoned by the desolate ruins. That's why we— What did you say? The poison in the desolate ruins can be cured? The jade serpent was shocked and stood up. Is that true? Seeing the jade serpent's reaction, Jiao Dahu knew that he had done the right thing. He immediately said, "My lord, when we were in the crowd, we saw the nine-tailed cat brothers' blood filled with the desolate ruins poison. They shouldn't have been able to survive. However, the human Mu Yu made a prescription and used the heavenly silkworm's blood to save the nine-tailed cat brothers from the gate of hell. It's true now. Everyone in Dawn Valley knows about it. I've never heard of the heavenly silkworm's blood being used to cure the desolate ruins poison," the jade serpent said suspiciously. At that time, Mu Yu grabbed several kinds of medicinal herbs from the old doctor's clinic. He said that the heavenly silkworm's blood was the main ingredient, and he fed it to the nine-tailed cat brothers. As a result, the nine-tailed cat brothers directly vomited a large amount of black blood, and then they were able to walk. We saw this with our own eyes. Jiao Dahu solemnly said. What herbs did he grab? Do you remember? The jade serpent finally paid attention to this matter. Jiao Dahu and Jiao Dalong shook their heads, indicating that they didn't know. Then what's the point of catching 2 heavenly silkworms for me? The jade serpent said angrily. We were planning to use the heavenly silkworms to frame Mu Yu, and we've achieved our goal. However, we didn't kill the 2 little heavenly silkworms because of how precious the heavenly silkworm's blood is now. My lord, you know what kind of place Dawn Valley is. Our plan only succeeded because the Luan Feng Demon King isn't here. If the Luan Feng Demon King returns in the future, it'll be difficult for us to do anything. The jade serpent calmed down and asked in a deep voice, Then does the old physician know the prescription? We don't know, but I heard that Mu Yu gave the prescription to the old physician. However, my lord, you should remember that the people of Dawn Valley are under the protection of the Luan Feng Demon King. They're very against us dragons. Furthermore, the old physician used to have a grudge with us dragons. We were worried that the old physician wouldn't do his best to treat you, so we stole the 2 little heavenly silkworms. We thought that my lord could find another physician to concoct the herbs to cure your— Jiao Dahu didn't finish his sentence. Very good. You did a good job. The jade serpent nodded with satisfaction. At the same time, his heart was surging because he was indeed poisoned by the desolate ruins poison. The jade serpent was framed by the hidden forest black tiger dragon more than 10 years ago, causing him to be poisoned by the desolate ruins poison. Although it was only a small amount, the desolate ruins poison was so terrifying that even he, a tribulation-passing stage cultivator, couldn't do anything about it. In the past, the only way to cure the desolate ruins poison was to force the poison to a certain part of the body, such as a hand, and then cut off the hand. However, as the clan leader of the North Shore Abyss, one of the 4 great dragon clans, how could he be willing to lose a hand? Therefore, he had been forcefully suppressing the desolate ruins poison with his cultivation for more than 10 years to prevent the poison from spreading. However, this also caused him great pain. Usually, when he was in the dragon pool in the abyss, he used the low temperature there to suppress the poison. Now that he suddenly knew that the desolate ruins poison could be cured, how could he not be excited? Hurry up and think of a way to get the old physician's prescription. If that old man from Dawn Valley doesn't know what's good for him, capture him and bring him here. I'll interrogate him myself. The jade serpent ordered. Yes, my lord. Jiao Dahu and Jiao Dalong hurriedly agreed and then left. Looking at the 2 heaven silkworms shivering in the bamboo basket, the jade serpent sneered. To him, as long as he could get rid of the poison in his body, he would not hesitate to kill all the remaining heaven silkworms of the demon clan, let alone a heaven silkworm. Qiao Shui was in a terrible mood. Although the demon clan of Dawn Valley did not blame her, she was still involved in Mu Yu's matter, and she felt very guilty. Old Man Tian Can and Old Madam Tian Can no longer treat her as well as before. When she went to Old Man Tian Can's house, Old Madam Tian Can was very sad and ignored her. Xiao Shui wanted to look for Mu Yu, but she remembered that Mu Yu asked her to stay and observe the situation before he left, so she could only choose to believe in Mu Yu. It must be Jiao Dahu and Jiao Dalong who secretly framed Mu Yu when we went to Grandpa Tian Can's house to check on the situation. However, there is no evidence to prove this. Now that everyone doesn't trust Mu Yu, what should we do? If only Aunt Luan Feng was here. Xiao Shui sat on the stairs in a terrible mood. The old doctor slowly walked up the stairs and asked, "Xiao Shui, why are you sitting here alone?" "Grandpa Doctor, Mu Yu is not here," Xiao Shui said helplessly. The old doctor waved his hand and sat beside Xiao Shui. He said amiably, "I'm not here to look for Mu Yu. I believe in your judgment. I've been discussing medicine with that human boy for the past few days. I know his character. He wouldn't do such a vicious thing. It won't do him any good." "Grandpa Doctor, why are you looking for me?" Xiao Shui heaved a sigh of relief. Without Demon King Luanfeng, the old doctor was the pillar of Dawn Valley. If he believed in Mu Yu, then everything would turn for the better. "Xiao Shui, it's not that I don't want to help you yesterday. Jiao Dahu and Jiao Dalong have led everyone astray. I don't have any evidence to convince everyone, but I'm sure they're related to this matter. However, the current situation is disadvantageous for Mu Yu. Before Demon King Luanfeng left, he asked me to look after the people of Dawn Valley. I can't be biased. Now, I can only hope that Mu Yu can find evidence to prove his innocence." The old doctor sighed. If Mu Yu was willing to share the antidote formula, why would he need to kill Heavenly Silkworm Baby? If Heavenly Silkworm Baby was really killed by Mu Yu, then what was his motive? It was completely unnecessary. Even the way he committed the crime was so low. It didn't seem like Mu Yu's character. "I know, Grandpa Doctor. Just believe in Mu Yu." Xiao Shui forced a smile. "Yes, Xiao Shui, to avoid suspicion, don't go anywhere. Stay at home and wait for Demon King Luanfeng to come back. Got it?" The old doctor patted Xiao Shui's shoulder. "Got it." Xiao Shui nodded. She could only hope that Demon King Luanfeng and the others would come back soon. Demon King Luanfeng and Demon King Luanfeng trusted Mu Yu. With the Demon King Luanfeng as a guarantor, the people of Dawn Valley wouldn't do anything to Mu Yu. "Then hurry up and cultivate. Your cultivation rose a lot on the first night you came back. It seems that Mu Yu and you are a match made in heaven. You two seem to benefit from each other being together." The old doctor winked meaningfully at Xiao Shui. Xiao Shui blushed when she recalled what happened that night. "Grandpa Doctor, don't tease me. He and let's not talk about it." The old doctor chuckled and left Xiao Shui's house. Night quickly enveloped the entire Dawn Valley. After a busy day, all the people of Dawn Valley fell asleep. Chapter 757. The old physician was still flipping through a thick pharmacopoeia under the candlelight. He held a brush in his hand and was writing down the prescriptions that Mu Yu had explained to him over the past few days. He then bound them together into a book. This was his habit. Every time he encountered a difficult disease, he would record and analyze it in detail. Behind him was a tall bookshelf filled with all kinds of thick books. They were all his medical experiences that he had recorded over the years. To treat the parasites of the helicoid, I need the crescent willow vine. The crescent willow vine can't grow in this wilderness. I also need the fierce sweat mushroom. Both of these herbs are hard to find. It seems that I'll have to leave the demon territory again sometime. The old physician shook his head and closed the pharmacopoeia. He put down the brush in his hand and sighed slightly. In this barren land, the survival of the demon race was severely challenged. Many of the parasites were very terrifying. Even the demon race with rough skin and thick flesh couldn't resist them. This was the peak of the West, the end of the 3 continents. It was close to the mysterious ruins. The harsh conditions here meant that many of the herbs that were used to treat diseases couldn't grow here. They had to be picked in the human territory. The old physician often left the demon territory and secretly came to the human territory to pick some herbs. Because he was in the form synthesis stage and had transformed completely, he didn't have the characteristics of the demon race. Therefore, his safety wasn't a big problem. The old physician put the pharmacopoeia back on the shelf. Then, he blew out the candle and went to the backyard to rest. Not long after he left, Jiao Dahu and Jiao Dalong tiptoed out from the shadows. They came specifically for the old physician's prescriptions. To be exact, they came for Mu Yu's prescriptions. The Valley of Dawn didn't welcome the dragon race, but it didn't forbid them from entering. After all, they were all demons. As long as the dragon race didn't cross the line, everyone would be safe. Because the Valley of Dawn was a sacred land of the demon race, it was usually guarded by the Luan Feng Demon King. There was no need to worry about the dragon race causing trouble here. Therefore, no one was on guard at night. This was also why Jiao Dahu and Jiao Dalong could sneak in so easily. Last time, they had already sneaked into the old man's house and stole the 3 little silkworms. This time, they snuck into the old doctor's clinic and planned to steal the old doctor's prescription to treat the jade flood dragon. Be careful, don't make any noise. If we alert the others in the Valley of Dawn, both of us will be in serious trouble. Jiao Dahu warned in a low voice. There were still a few body integration stage demons in the Valley of Dawn, and one of them was the esteemed old doctor. Jiao Dahu and Jiao Dalong didn't dare to underestimate him. If they were discovered, they might be able to subdue the old doctor, but they would definitely attract the attention of other body integration stage demons. That wouldn't be good. Don't worry, the residents of Dawn Valley aren't very alert. They don't even close their doors at night, and they don't have any protective measures. Didn't we already succeed once? Jiao Dalang carefully walked toward the bookshelf. It's because I succeeded once that I'm worried that they'll be more vigilant. Jiao Dahu took down the medicine encyclopedia from the bookshelf. At the same time, he took out a night guardian spirit candle and lit it up. This candle was made from the fat of a demon beast called the night guardian spirit. The night guardian spirit had a very special ability. They could emit light in the dark, but this light could only be seen by themselves. Using the night guardian spirit's fat to make a candle, only the person holding the candle could see the light. No one else could see it. This candle was the best companion for thieves. Stealing at night could be done without any noise. There was no need to be blind in the dark, and there was no need to worry about being discovered by others. The night guardian spirit emitted light in Jiao Dahu and Jiao Dalong's hands. The two of them quickly flipped through the medicine encyclopedia, searching for the words desolate ruin poison. The medicine encyclopedia recorded many of the old doctor's experiences regarding his own treatment, and there was no lack of records on how to cure the desolate ruin poison. However, these were all discovered by the old doctor himself, and they weren't what Jiao Dahu and Jiao Dalang were looking for. Jiao Dahu flipped through the medicine encyclopedia from beginning to end, but he didn't see the last record of the old doctor regarding Mu Yu's prescription. What's going on? Could it be that the old man didn't record the prescription? Jiao Dalong frowned. He continued to take down a few other medicine encyclopedias from the shelf and carefully looked through each one. After spending nearly 2 hours, there was still no trace of the prescription. Jiao Dahu's expression sank. This old man left a trick up his sleeve. He actually didn't write down the prescription. Big brother, then what do we do now? Do we take advantage of the fact that the old man isn't on guard and take him down? Jiao Dalong revealed a ferocious gaze. Can't you use your brain? How can the two of us silently take him down? Jiao Dahu coldly snorted and continued, "Let's go, let's leave this place. This old man often leaves the demon territory alone to find herbs. As long as we wait for him, there will always be an opportunity." Jiao Dahu and Jiao Dalong extinguished the candle and once again disappeared into the darkness, leaving Dawn Valley. The next day, the old doctor woke up very early. He prepared to leave the demon territory and head to the human territory to pick some herbs. Many of the herbs were very rare and could not be found in the demon territory. In addition, most of the herbs had their own characteristics in the environment, so the old doctor had to explore these on his own. Early in the morning, he left the Valley of Dawn alone. There was an apprentice in the old physician's clinic, but he usually went alone when it came to gathering herbs in human territory. He did not like to bring an apprentice with him, because he had to be very careful in human territory. Besides, the apprentice had the characteristics of a Yao, so it was difficult to hide his identity. The old doctor's figure flashed through the morning light and flew towards the heavenly demon river with ease. After flying over the heavenly demon river was the abyss, and after passing through the vast swamp was the human territory. However, there was still some distance before he reached the heavenly demon river. He entered a forest. Suddenly, the old doctor frowned slightly and stopped on a tree trunk. "Come out." The old doctor looked at a tree in front of him and sensed something. "Old doctor, you are indeed very perceptive. I am truly impressed." Jiao Dahu clapped his hands and walked out from behind a tree. He looked at the old doctor with a fake smile. At the same time, Jiao Dalong also appeared behind the old doctor. "What are you two doing here?" the old doctor asked in a deep voice. Jiao Dahu chuckled. "Old doctor, we heard that you already know how to cure the desolate ruins poison. Lord Jade Serpent asked us to invite you over." The old doctor snorted. "Don't you know the rules of my medical practice? I will not treat any dragon in the North Abyss." The old doctor wanted to leave after he finished speaking, but Jiao Dahu stepped forward and blocked his way again. "Old doctor, we are both demons. Why are you treating us as outsiders? Lord Jade Serpent is not an ordinary person. If you cure him of the desolate ruins poison, Lord Jade Serpent will definitely reward you handsomely. It is your honor to be related to Lord Jade Serpent." Jiao Dahu still had a fake smile on his face. "Honor? Haha. I don't care about rewards. Don't forget who chased me out of King City," the old doctor said angrily. More than 10 years ago, the old doctor was practicing medicine in King City. After Jade Serpent was poisoned by Hidden Forest Black Tiger, Jade Serpent asked the old doctor to treat him. However, the old doctor suggested to force the poison to his left hand and amputate it. How could Jade Serpent agree? Jade Serpent angrily called the old doctor a quack and smashed his clinic. He chased him out of King City and forbade him from ever setting foot in the city again. However, who would have thought that the old doctor would obtain Mu Yu's prescription and become the only demon who could cure the desolate ruins poison? Now, Jade Serpent shamelessly wanted the old doctor to cure the poison. How could the old doctor agree? Jiao Dahu said, "Old doctor, why are you still talking about the past? The desolate ruins poison is a problem for all demons, and there are demons who die from time to time. Now that you have the prescription to cure the desolate ruins poison, you should use it to benefit all demons instead of keeping it to yourself. What do you think? I'll cure any monster that comes to me, except for the Jade Jiao dragon. I won't help him. You should go back," the old doctor said firmly. Jiao Dahu put away the fake smile on his face and revealed a fierce look. "So, you refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit?" The two of them slowly approached the old doctor. The old doctor shouted angrily, "What are you two trying to do? Old doctor, if you don't come with us obediently, we will have to use force." As Jiao Dahu spoke, he suddenly stomped on the ground, and a huge white net appeared around him, firmly trapping the old doctor. They came prepared and set up a trap, waiting for the old doctor to fall into the net. The old doctor's expression changed slightly. "You two are too bold. How dare you attack me here? Old doctor, we are just doing our job to invite you to our place as a guest." Jiao Dahu waved his hand and the white net retracted, binding the old doctor tightly. The white net was a magic treasure personally refined by Jade Serpent. It was not something the old doctor could break free from. "Let me go now," the old doctor shouted angrily. However, Jiao Dahu ignored him completely. The white net emitted a spiritual energy and blocked the old doctor's voice. Then, the two of them quickly disappeared into the forest with the old doctor. However, not long after Jiao Dahu and Jiao Dalong left, Mu Yu appeared at their original spot. "Sure enough, this matter is related to these two mixed-blood dragons." Long Ting snorted. "Mu Yu, are we not going to save the old doctor?" Mu Yu asked curiously. Mu Yu looked at Jiao Dahu's disappearing figure and said, "Our goal is to find the two little silkworms. Jiao Dahu and Jiao Dalong kidnapped the old doctor but didn't kidnap Grandpa Heavenly Silkworm. This means that the two little silkworms must be in their hands. We need the little silkworms to prove our innocence." Although the little silkworms did not have intelligence, Sir Silkworm could communicate with them. If the little silkworms were still alive, they would tell Sir Silkworm what happened. Then, the truth of who was behind all of this would be revealed. We need to follow these two guys to the north side abyss to make sure that the two little silkworms are fine. However, before that I need to go to the ruins," Mu Yu said. "Why are you going to the ruins?" Long Ting was confused. Mu Yu smiled and said, "I think the jade serpent wasn't poison enough. What do you think?" The old doctor had told Mu Yu that the jade serpent had chased him out of King City. He also knew that the four dragon tribes had framed each other and caused the jade serpent to be poisoned by the ruins. It seemed that the jade serpent was very afraid of the poison in the ruins. If Mu Yu wanted to deal with the jade serpent, he first needed to know where the ruins were. "You're planning to," Long Ting suddenly realized. Chapter 758. Mu Yu stopped at the westernmost edge. There was a swamp in the distance. On the other side of the swamp was a yellow barrier that extended from the sky to the ground. This was the edge of the desolate ruins that the demons feared. It was also the end of the continent that the old doctor mentioned. The yellow barrier was the desolate ruins poison fog. The desolate ruins poison fog slowly drifted and did not spread towards the swamp. Occasionally, when the wind blew, one or two strands of yellow fog could be seen floating out from the barrier. The old doctor said that the Azure Dragon ancestor wanted to use a formation to isolate the desolate ruins poison fog, but the desolate ruins poison fog would slowly erode the formation runes. Even the Azure Dragon ancestor could not withstand it for too long, so he could only choose to give up and strictly warn the demons not to enter the swamp. However, many times, even if the demons did not step into the swamp, they would still be attacked by the poison fog. This poison fog was difficult to guard against and would float out from various places. In the beginning, the nine-tailed cat brothers did not actually get close to the swamp. According to them, the two of them were 1 kilometer away from the swamp. However, after a gust of wind, they fell to the ground and could not get up. Mu Yu did not need to worry about the desolate ruins poison fog. He was invulnerable to all poisons, especially since he had analyzed the composition of the desolate ruins poison fog in detail. A mere desolate ruins poison fog could not do anything to him. Every plant in the swamp was under Mu Yu's control. No demon beast dared to enter the swamp. There were only these plants. When the wind blew, there was only the sound of the plants rustling. There was not even the sound of insects. The plants here were also very strange. They were all common shrubs and reeds. Each plant was filled with poison, but there were no signs of them being corroded by the poison fog. Instead, they seem to be even stronger. The plants here are very different from normal plants. How could this be? Muyu touched the plants and fell into deep thought. The plants still looked like plants, but they did not seem to be pure plants. It was as if these plants had been corroded by the poison fog for a long time and were forced to change their habit. They relied on the poison fog to survive. Once they left the poison fog, they would not be able to survive. Muyu was able to analyze the composition of the poisonous fog, and there was no poison that he couldn't neutralize. Poison was nothing more than the interaction of some components, and other components could be used to neutralize them one by one. It was the same in the ruins. However, the desolate ruin poison was one of the most powerful poisons that Muyu had ever encountered. When he was trying to detoxify the desolate ruin poison, Muyu had also relied on analysis to concoct the antidote. The dosage of the herbs had to be accurate. Otherwise, it would be impossible to detoxify the poison, no matter how high one's cultivation was. However, if Muyu was asked to concoct this poison, he wouldn't be able to do so. This was because the poison had a very strange power that seemed to have settled down over the years. Once it entered a person's body, it was very difficult to get rid of it. Only the sky silkworm blood's powerful poison resistance could dissolve this power. Muyu wasn't afraid of the poison, but the other demons were. Even the jade serpent at the Tribulation Transcendence realm couldn't get rid of the poison. One could see just how terrifying this poison was. He came here to see if he could bring the poisonous fog with him. Then, he would be confident in dealing with the jade serpent. I don't like the atmosphere here. Little Shuai frowned and returned to Muyu's embrace. Dragon Vine and Little Shuai huddled together. It didn't like this place either. In order to prevent the two of them from getting poisoned, Muyu pulled them into the plants he carried with him to isolate them from the poison. Muyu flicked his finger, and all the plants in the swamp began to tremble. Next, a reed that contained the poison flew into Muyu's hand. This reed was hollow, and it contained the poisonous fog of the ruins of desolation. When Muyu broke the reed, the poisonous fog immediately escaped from the reed. Muyu, do we want to take a look at the desolate ruin? Little Shuai asked. No, let's find Little Sky Silkworm first. Muyu actually wanted to see the desolate ruin at the end of the continent, but he had more important things to do. He pondered about how to deal with the jade serpent. Since the jade serpent was so afraid of this place, it was clearly the best place for Muyu to fight. North Shore Abyss. The old doctor was thrown to the ground heavily. Jiao Dehu and Jiao Delong walked to the jade serpent and bowed. My lord, the old man from Dawn Valley is here. The jade serpent slowly walked to the old doctor and waved its hand to untie the white net. It said condescendingly, Old doctor, how have you been? The old doctor stood up from the ground and glared at the jade serpent. Jade serpent, why did you come to me this time? 10 years ago, didn't you chase me out of King City for being a quack? Old doctor, let's not beat around the bush. I heard you already know how to cure the poison? The jade serpent stared at the old doctor. So what if I do? The old doctor was only at the body integration stage, but he wasn't afraid of the crossing tribulation stage jade serpent at all. He still held a deep grudge against the jade serpent. Back then, the jade serpent had rudely chased him out of Azure Dragon Imperial City. If that's the case, then please cure me of the desolate ruin poison. As long as you can do it, I'll take back the order I gave back then. You'll still be the divine doctor of Azure Dragon Dynasty. I'll also build a new clinic for you in King City. What do you think? The jade serpent said arrogantly. After all, he was the leader of one of the 4 dragon clans in Azure Dragon Dynasty. As a crossing tribulation stage self-cultivator, he wouldn't lower himself in front of a body integration stage doctor. In the jade serpent's eyes, all demons without true dragon bloodline were inferior clansmen. Inferior clansmen should obey the dragon clan. Jade serpent, You want me to cure the poison in your body? Are you ready to lose an arm? The old doctor snorted. The jade serpent's face darkened. He scolded fiercely, Lose an arm? How dare you make fun of me? Didn't you cure the nine-tailed cat brothers unscathed? I didn't cure the nine-tailed cat brothers. It was Muyu from the human clan. If you want to cure the desolate ruin poison, you should go to him, not me. The old doctor looked at the jade serpent mockingly. Thinking about how the jade serpent had been tortured by the desolate ruin poison for 10 years, he felt relieved. It seems that you're really going to do this the hard way. I'll take you to the edge of the desolate ruin now. I'd like to see if you're going to lose an arm too, the jade serpent said eerily. The old doctor's face turned cold. It's useless even if you kill me. You dragons have never respected us demons. I'm now under the Luan Feng Demon King. I won't compromise with you dragons. If you dare to attack me, the Luan Feng Demon King won't let you go. The old doctor was confident because the people of Dawn Valley were under the command of the Luan Feng Demon King. They were no longer bullied by the dragons. The Luan Feng Demon King thought highly of the old doctor, so the dragons wouldn't dare to do anything to him. However, the jade serpent smiled viciously. The Luan Feng Demon King? Now that the Luan Feng Demon King isn't here, who will know even if I kill you? Even if the Luan Feng Demon King asks about it, don't forget that the Dawn Valley took in a human. Your death will only be blamed on him. The old doctor's face changed. You're so vicious. I don't know if I'm vicious or not, but if you don't cure me, not only will you die, but the people of Dawn Valley will also die. Their deaths will be blamed on Muyu. I think Muyu has already killed a silkworm, so he won't mind killing all the demons in the Dawn Valley, the jade serpent said slowly. The old physician's expression was uncertain. Muyu had been labeled as the murderer of Little Heavenly Silkworm. Luan Feng Demon King was not here. With the jade serpent's position in the Azure Dragon dynasty, he could have killed Little Heavenly Silkworm without leaving a trace, and then framed Muyu. He knew the jade serpent's methods. The jade serpent was vicious and would do what he said. If he didn't agree, it would be a small matter if Muyu became the scapegoat because Muyu had the ability to escape, but it would be terrible if the demons of Dawn Valley lost their lives for no reason. The old doctor was furious, but there was nothing he could do. All right, I promise to cure you, but I have to go back. I don't have the herbs needed for the desolate ruins antidote with me. Also, I have to get the old silkworm's permission because his blood is the catalyst, the old doctor said coldly. You don't have to go back. I have all the herbs you want. As for the catalyst? The jade serpent gestured to Jiao Da. Jiao Dahu understood and handed the 2 baskets to the old doctor. The old doctor's expression changed when he saw the 2 motionless silkworms in the basket. Why are the little silkworms here? He suddenly raised his head and stared at the jade serpent. It's you. You've gone too far. How could you kill the little silkworms that are still in their infancy? Are you even human? Old doctor, what are you talking about? The one who killed the little silkworms was Muyu. It was us 2 brothers who painstakingly rescued the remaining 2 little silkworms from Muyu's hands. Jiao Dahu revealed a fake smile. His yellow teeth were particularly conspicuous and disgusting. The old doctor hurriedly reached out to check on the little silkworms. He was relieved when he found that they had only fainted from the shock of the spiritual power. He then said angrily, Bastard! Since you've found the little silkworms, you should have sent them back to Dawn Valley. They're still so young, and you want to use their blood? The jade serpent snorted. They're just 2 low-level demons that haven't gained intelligence. So what if they've been killed? They're worthless lives. Curing my illness is the key. You're insane. I will never take the little silkworm's blood to cure you. The old doctor said angrily. So you don't have the heart to take their blood? Then I'll kill them for you. The jade serpent grabbed the 2 little silkworms. Stop. Chapter 759. Old man, I'd advise you to be sensible. If you can cure me of the desolate ruin poison, I don't care even if you have to kill the celestial silkworm's entire family, let alone 2 low-level demon beasts. Tell me how much blood you need. Jade Flood Dragon swung its arm and threw the old doctor away, smashing him into the table and chair. The old physician held the 2 little celestial silkworms tightly in his arms to prevent them from getting hurt. His body felt like it was falling apart as his blood boiled. The old physician scrambled up from the ground and glared at Jade Flood Dragon. He was trembling with anger, but there was nothing he could do against Jade Flood Dragon. Jade Flood Dragon, you've been poisoned for too long, and the 2 little celestial silkworms are too small to provide you with enough blood. Send the 2 little celestial silkworms back to Dawn Valley and ask the old celestial silkworm to replace them. I'm sure the old celestial silkworm will be willing to provide you with his blood. The old physician held back his anger. In fact, no matter how deeply Jade Flood Dragon was poisoned, it was not as deeply as the 9-tailed cat brothers. Otherwise, it would not have lasted for 10 years. Not much blood was needed to cure the desolate ruin poison in Jade Flood Dragon. However, one of the little celestial silkworm had already been brutally killed by Jade Flood Dragon's subordinate. The old physician did not want anything to happen to the 2 little celestial silkworms, so he would rather let the old man take the risk himself. At this moment, Flood Dragon Guanwen walked in and glanced at the old physician with disdain. He then bowed to Jade Flood Dragon and said, "My lord, the people you want are here." Jade Flood Dragon snorted. "Bring them in." The old physician frowned. He did not know who Jade Flood Dragon had captured this time. Then, he saw the old man and his family being pushed in by Jade Flood Dragon's subordinates in horror. "Old physician, I believe you have enough blood now?" Jade Flood Dragon's thin lips curled into an indifferent and vicious smile. The old physician's eyes were about to spit fire. He did not expect Jade Flood Dragon to capture the entire celestial silkworm's family. "Xiaobao. My Xiaobao." Seeing the 2 little celestial silkworms in the bamboo basket on the ground, the old man and Madame Celestial Silkworm immediately ran over and held their children in their arms. However, the little silkworm in the basket didn't react at all. It didn't move at all. "Old doctor, quick, help me take a look. What's wrong with my 2 little treasures?" Old man Tian Can was extremely anxious. With a sobbing tone, he seemed to have forgotten that he was also kidnapped. "They've only fainted temporarily. It's nothing serious," the old doctor comforted. That's good. It's good that we found Xiaobao." Heavenly Silkworm Ant said. "How did you get caught?" the old doctor asked softly. The old man hugged the little silkworm tightly and said, "We don't know. We were sleeping well last night, but when we woke up, they caught us and brought us here." The Valley of Dawn was not guarded at all. Normally, when the Luan Feng Demon King was around, the dragons did not dare to cause trouble there. Now that the Luan Feng Demon King was gone, the Jade Serpent's subordinates could sneak in and capture people without any scruples. The monsters in the Valley of Dawn did not expect to encounter such a situation. The Jade Flood Dragon snorted and unleashed its tribulation transcendence pressure, scaring Tian Can and his family so much that they huddled together. "Cut the crap. The catalyst is here. Old doctor, just tell me how much blood I need to detoxify the poison. If 2 little worms aren't enough, then 2 big worms should be enough, right?" The Jade Flood Dragon had always looked down on monsters without true dragon bloodline. Even the extinction of a rare monster like Tian Can wouldn't make him pity them. Old man Tian Can had already realized that something was wrong. He knew about the Jade Serpent's identity and status, and he had also heard a little about how vicious he was. However, because the 4 dragon clans were competing for the throne of the Azure Dragon dynasty, the Yao clans who did not have the bloodline of a true dragon would not be implicated. But now they were forcibly brought here. Needless to say, this matter was not as simple as it seemed. The old doctor had no other choice. Without the Luan Feng Demon King, no one could protect them. They could only swallow their anger before the Jade Flood Dragon, one of the 4 dragon tribes. "Take me to the herbs," the old doctor said in a deep voice. The Jade Flood Dragon gestured to Jiao Guanwen, who led him to a storehouse. The old doctor was shocked when he entered Jade Serpent's storehouse. There were countless herbs of all shapes and sizes. These were the herbs that Jade Serpent had collected over the years for the sake of understanding the poison in the desolate ruins. One could say that Jade Serpent was well prepared. The old doctor followed Mu Yu's instructions and carefully observed the desolate ruin poison in the Jade Flood Dragon's body. When detoxifying the poison, the corresponding antidote had to be formulated according to the amount of poison. The dosage of the antidote was very strict. It could not be too much or too little. Otherwise, the poison would spread faster. Therefore, the severity of the poison had to be determined before detoxifying the poison. The old doctor took the exact dosage of the antidote and ground it into powder. Then, he discussed with the old man and asked for some of his blood as the catalyst. The old man's entire family was threatened by the Jade Flood Dragon, so he did not dare to disobey. Once the antidote was formulated, the resistance of the herbs needed to be refined with spirit energy. The old doctor followed Mu Yu's instructions and spent some time to complete the task. Just as the old doctor was about to hand the prepared antidote to the Jade Flood Dragon, the Jade Flood Dragon did not take it. Instead, it said condescendingly, "Old man, don't think I don't know what you're thinking. Do you think I'll believe your antidote?" The old doctor was furious and said, "This is the real antidote. If you don't believe me, why did you come to me? You're a lowly demon. You want to feed me with a random prescription? What's more, this prescription was concocted by Mu Yu of the human race. I know the principle that every medicine is 30% poisonous. I won't drink your antidote casually. What if you concocted poison?" The Jade Flood Dragon was very paranoid. However, it was not surprising. As the leader of one of the 4 major dragon tribes in the Azure Dragon dynasty, he had to be wary of the other dragons. Therefore, he was very careful when dealing with the demons. Especially after he was accidentally poisoned by the hidden forest black tiger, he became even more cautious. The Jade Flood Dragon did not trust the old doctor's prescription. After all, he threatened the old doctor with the lives of everyone in the Valley of Dawn. If the old doctor used a fake prescription to make the poison in the Jade Flood Dragon more difficult to control in order to save the lives of the people in the Valley of Dawn, he would be doomed. This is the real prescription. Believe it or not, I'll put the medicine here. You can do whatever you want. The old doctor was furious. When Mu Yu gave him the prescription, he told him that the dosage of the herbs would spread faster if there was a slight mistake. At first, he did think of directly triggering the poison in the Jade Flood Dragon's body and poisoning it to death. However, when he thought about how the Luan Feng Demon King would not return and how the entire Valley of Dawn might be destroyed by the dragons in the North Shore Abyss, he gave up on that idea and came up with the real prescription. However, the Jade Flood Dragon did not believe him and insisted that the old doctor was playing tricks with the real antidote. You don't have to threaten me. It's easy to confirm the authenticity of the antidote. We just need someone to test the poison." The Jade Flood Dragon's eyes glinted coldly. "Test the poison?" The old doctor frowned. "That's right. Test the poison. I'm sure you'll be willing to test the poison for me," said the Jade Flood Dragon. "You want me to be poisoned?" The old doctor was shocked. He did not expect the Jade Flood Dragon to want him to test the authenticity of the antidote. Even the old doctor panicked when he thought of how terrifying the desolate ruin poison was. The Jade Flood Dragon smiled. "If your antidote can cure the desolate ruin poison, why are you afraid of being poisoned? If you can't even cure yourself, don't blame me for turning against you when the time comes. If something happens to me and I can't cure myself in time, where are you going to find the antidote?" the old doctor angrily rebuked. "Then you better be fine. Otherwise, I'll have to spend more effort to find Muyu," the Jade Flood Dragon sneered. In his eyes, all the monster clansmen without the bloodline of the true dragon were inferior. The old doctor's life was not important to him. If he died from poison, then so be it. After all, the real antidote came from Muyu. The Jade Flood Dragon had been busy suppressing the poison in his body for the past few days. He did not have time to find Muyu. Otherwise, he would have gone to avenge his son on the first day Muyu came to the monster race. Before the old doctor could say anything, the Jade Flood Dragon waved his hand and brought the old doctor and Tian Can's family away from the northern abyss. They flew to the edge of the desolate ruin. Jiao Dahu, Jiao Delong, and Jiao Guanwen followed closely behind. When the Jade Flood Dragon and the others left the northern abyss, Muyu also jumped out from a tree and followed them. The desolate ruin was boundless. Even the passing Calamity Stage Jade Flood Dragon did not dare to get too close to it. He stopped 1 kilometer away from the desolate ruin. At the same time, he kept an eye out for the yellow poisonous mist from the desolate ruin. "Go forward. I believe you know how to save your life," the Jade Flood Dragon shouted at the old doctor. The old doctor was pushed and staggered. He looked at the barrier of the desolate ruin in the distance. His heart was in a mess. The desolate ruin poison had troubled the monster race for more than 5,000 years. Countless monsters had died in the poisonous mist. Every time he looked at the crippled monsters, he felt sorry for them. Although Muyu told him how to cure the poison, he was still afraid to get close to the desolate ruin. The Jade Flood Dragon's aura was locked on the old doctor. The old doctor knew that if he did not follow the Jade Flood Dragon's order, the dragon would force him to do it. The old doctor approached the ruins step by step. His forehead was covered in cold sweat. He was very clear about how powerful the poison in the ruins was. If he was poisoned too much, he might not even be able to concoct the antidote for himself before he collapsed. The swamp was right in front of him. Once he stepped into the swamp, he would enter the range of the desolate ruin poison. However, there was not much poisonous mist above the swamp. The poisonous mist was like poisonous snakes in the air, slithering around aimlessly. The old doctor checked the situation and walked toward a patch of poisonous mist that was relatively sparse. He had only taken a few steps when his expression changed slightly because a yellow poisonous mist was shrouding him. He immediately stepped back, but he knew he had been poisoned. When he returned to the Jade Flood Dragon's side, the Jade Flood Dragon looked at the old doctor's sallow face with satisfaction. It knew it was a sign of the desolate ruin poison. Then, it pushed the antidote the old doctor made to the old doctor. "Take the antidote you made. If it can remove the poison in your body, I'll believe you. Otherwise, you know what will happen to you." The poisonous mist had begun to corrode the old doctor's blood and spread throughout his body. The old doctor showed a painful expression. He clenched his teeth and suppressed the poisonous mist. Then, he trembled as he took the bowl of antidote mixed with the silkworm's blood. The old doctor took a deep breath. Different amounts of poison would require different amounts of herbs in the antidote formula. He followed Professor Mu Yu's method to determine the amount of poison in his body. Then, he took out some herbs and added them in. Jade Jiao Dragon saw all of this and sneered, "Old man, you were really tricking me just now. I don't have to lie to you. Believe it or not." The old doctor took the antidote without hesitation. As soon as the antidote entered his body, he felt a burning sensation. The silkworm's blood covered all the herbs and washed the blood in his body. Soon, he felt his stomach churning. Unable to hold it in any longer, he bent down and vomited black blood all over the floor. When the old doctor stood up straight, the poison in his body had been completely removed. Although he still looked pale, there were no signs of poisoning. The Jade Flood Dragon had been observing the old doctor's symptoms. In the past few years, he had been fighting against the desolate ruin poison. He had observed countless victims of the desolate ruin poison. In order to find the antidote, he had even secretly captured some desolate ruin demons and forced them to be poisoned for experiment. At this moment, the old doctor's condition was clearly recovering from the poison. The Jade Flood Dragon's eyes were filled with zeal. He suddenly raised his head and laughed. The old doctor's desolate ruin poison had been cured. It meant that he would soon be free from the desolate ruin poison that had tortured him for so many years. It seems that you didn't disappoint me, old man. The Jade Flood Dragon looked at Tian Can's family with satisfaction, as if he was looking at a rare treasure. Tian Can's family was quite frightened. The old doctor took a deep breath and said in a low voice, "You now know that my antidote is effective. I can go to your place and make you a poison. Then, you will fulfill your promise and let us go." The Jade Flood Dragon looked as if he had heard a funny joke. He looked at the old doctor in disdain and said, "Let you go? You wanted to poison me with a fake prescription, and now you want me to let you go? As for Tian Can's family, I will take care of them like dogs. You don't have to worry about them." The old doctor's heart skipped a beat. He knew that the Jade Flood Dragon would never let him go. He immediately said, "I am the only one who can make the antidote. If you kill me, you will be tortured by the desolate ruin poison forever. Do you remember it?" The Jade Flood Dragon looked at Jiao Guanwen. "My lord, what herbs did this old man use? The amount of each herb and the order of adding them, I remember it all clearly." Jiao Guanwen said respectfully, "If you remember it, then this old man is useless. We can't let the Luanfeng Demon King get hold of our weakness." Chapter 760. The old doctor knew he was going to die today, so he threw caution to the wind and said, "Jade Flood Dragon, if you look down on the other demons who don't have the bloodline of the true dragon, you won't live up to your name even if you become the emperor of the Azure Dragon dynasty. You won't win the hearts of the people and will only lead the demon race to destruction." Hearts of the people? I don't need those ridiculous things. Only the bloodline of the true dragon and cultivation are supreme in the demon race. The Jade Flood Dragon laughed wildly. The old doctor sneered, "True dragon bloodline? What a pity! Ancestor Azure Dragon won't allow a demon with an impure bloodline like you to take over the entire demon race." Impure bloodline of the true dragon? It seems you still don't know the secret of the human boy Qiao Shui brought back, right? As long as I catch him, I'll get the dragonized dragon vine and absorb his bloodline. Then I'll be a true dragon. The Jade Flood Dragon attached great importance to the dragon vine and had already made a series of plans. After he got rid of the poison in his body, he would find Mu Yu in person. Now that the Demon King was not here, even God was on his side. What? Mu Yu has a dragonized dragon vine? The old doctor was shocked. He had never known about this. As a demon of the Azure Dragon dynasty, he knew the rules set by Ancestor Azure Dragon. If one wanted to take over the Azure Dragon dynasty, he had to be a true dragon. The 4 dragon races had been fighting openly and secretly for this. Many demons who had 90% true dragon bloodline, such as Long Xingyun, had secretly stolen the bloodline of other dragons to improve themselves. However, no true dragon with 100% true dragon bloodline had ever appeared. However, if there was a dragonized dragon vine, then all the efforts of the 4 dragon races would be in vain. Yes, I told you this because I wanted you to know more before you die. Now you can die. The Jade Flood Dragon smiled viciously and stopped talking nonsense with the old doctor. The aura of the Crossing Calamity stage swept out and he slapped the old doctor's forehead. The old doctor was only at the form synthesis stage. He couldn't resist and could only watch as the Jade Flood Dragon attacked him. A dragonized dragon vine? That's Ancestor Azure Dragon's true body. Little friend Muyu, you must protect Lord True Dragon. The old doctor closed his eyes and said in his heart. But at this moment, a familiar voice came from above the swamp. Sure enough, a crooked stick will have a crooked shadow. I always thought Long Xingyun was disgusting enough. I didn't expect you to be even more disgusting than him. Mu Yu's voice suddenly exploded in the old doctor's ears like thunder. The old doctor opened his eyes in shock, only to find that the jade flood dragon's hand had stopped in midair. It did not kill him. Its attention was drawn to the young man in the swamp of the desolate ruins. Mu Yu stood on top of a reed and calmly stared at the jade serpent in the distance. He played with a reed in his hand. Young friend Mu Yu, what are you doing here? Quickly leave this place, you are not his opponent. The old doctor anxiously shouted. In his opinion, the jade flood dragon was at the crossing calamity stage. It could easily kill Mu Yu, who was at the form synthesis stage. If what the jade flood dragon said about the dragon vine was true, nothing could happen to Mu Yu. The jade flood dragon looked at the young man in front of him and asked coldly, "Are you Mu Yu, the one who killed my son?" Mu Yu found it ridiculous. Long Xingyun's death was not caused by him at all. Even the Sea Demon King knew about it. How could this guy dare to blame Long Xingyun's death on him? Mu Yu asked in a mocking tone, "Did Long Yeli tell you that I killed Long Xingyun?" Long Yeli was one of the demons who survived on the island. He was sent by the Jade Flood Dragon to protect Long Xingyun. He was very clear about what happened in the demon-suppressing pagoda. However, his master was dead and his guard survived. Long Yeli could not justify it. He was afraid that he would push all the blame to Mu Yu in order to protect himself. "You killed my son. You should die with him." The Jade Flood Dragon was furious. Long Xingyun was raised by him and had 90% of the bloodline of the true dragon. Although he was a dragon python like his mother, it did not matter. The most important thing was that Long Xingyun was the demon who was most likely to become a true dragon. The Jade Flood Dragon had poured countless resources into Long Xingyun. This time, he went to the island with the White Ape Demon King. He thought everything would be foolproof. Who would have thought that he would receive the bad news of Long Xingyun's death in the end? The Jade Flood Dragon was very sad. He interrogated Long Yeli about what happened. Long Yeli told him that Long Xingyun's death was caused by Mu Yu. He also told the Jade Flood Dragon that Mu Yu had the dragon vine. He also said that Mu Yu would come to the demon territory soon. Therefore, the Jade Flood Dragon had been waiting for Mu Yu's arrival. "I didn't kill your son. How can you take Long Yeli's words seriously?" The yellow poisonous fog drifted around Mu Yu, but he did not care at all. Long Xingyun was locked in the plant while Xiao Shuai was lying on his shoulder. Xiao Shuai had thick skin and was not afraid of the poisonous fog, but Long Xingyun was not immune to poison. "Not only did you kill my son, but you also kidnapped Long Xingyun. Today, I will kill you and save Lord True Dragon," the Jade Flood Dragon said coldly. He approached the swamp step by step, but stopped at the edge of the swamp. He was still very afraid of the poison in the ruins. "This is the first time I've heard such a clear-cut excuse for killing." "But are you sure you can kill me?" Mu Yu was not flustered at all. The poisonous fog in the ruins was fatal to others, but to him it was like a game. This was why he dared to confront the Jade Flood Dragon. He believed that Long Xingyun would not dare to cross the line. "I didn't expect the poisonous fog in the ruins to be ineffective against you. But do you think I can't kill you if you hide in the poisonous fog?" The Jade Flood Dragon was full of resentment. Spiritual energy gathered in his hand, and a pale white light shone from his hand, forming the image of a flood dragon in the air. "Die!" The flood dragon in the sky suddenly rushed into the swamp and blasted towards Mu Yu. The attack of a Tribulation Realm cultivator was not to be underestimated. However, Mu Yu did not want to fight the Jade Flood Dragon head-on. When the Flood Dragon landed, Mu Yu had already disappeared among the reeds. The Flood Dragon created a huge pit in the swamp. The entire land seemed to tremble. The poisonous fog in the ruins was stirred up by the Flood Dragon, and started to move toward the Jade Flood Dragon. The Jade Flood Dragon's expression changed slightly. He quickly retreated, not daring to be invaded by the poisonous fog again. "Why are you so timid? I thought you had mastered the antidote and were no longer afraid of the poison in the ruins." Mu Yu's figure slowly appeared on the other side of the reeds. The Jade Flood Dragon was infuriated. He had already been merciful with the attack just now. If he was not worried about triggering the poisonous fog, he would have destroyed the entire swamp. "Do you plan to hide in the swamp for the rest of your life?" The Jade Flood Dragon stared at Mu Yu, whose expression did not change in the poisonous fog, like a resentful snake. The volcano in his heart had already erupted when he thought of his son's death. "Hide in the swamp? I don't plan to do that." Mu Yu smiled faintly. He stepped on the reeds and slowly walked toward the Jade Flood Dragon. The Jade Flood Dragon saw Mu Yu walking toward him recklessly. The hatred of losing his son had already drowned his mind. "Mu Yu, don't come here. What are you doing? The Jade Flood Dragon is a cruel man. He will kill you," the old physician shouted anxiously. "We don't know who will kill who yet." With every step Mu Yu took, the reeds under his feet trembled slightly and made rustling noises. When he stepped on the shore of the swamp, the reeds around him suddenly shot out from the swamp like sharp arrows. The reeds were extremely sharp, and they all thrust toward the Jade Serpent. "Is that all you've got?" The Jade Flood Dragon roared furiously. Tremendous spiritual energy surged out of his body and destroyed all the reeds that were shooting toward him. But soon, his expression changed drastically. When the reeds were destroyed, each of them released yellow desolate ruin poison. Stimulated by the Jade Serpent Dragon's spirit energy, the poison became very violent and covered the Jade Serpent Dragon. "Damn it! Bastard, how dare you plot against me?" The Jade Serpent was both shocked and furious. Even with his tribulation stage cultivation base, he couldn't neutralize so much of the desolate ruins poison. He immediately used his abundant spiritual energy to shield himself and quickly retreated, staying far away from the poison's range. "Plot against you? Only an idiot would say something like that." Mu Yu disappeared into the bushes. When he reappeared, he was already next to the old doctor and Tian Can's family. "You guys kill him for me." The Jade Flood Dragon was still separated from Mu Yu by the poisonous fog of the ruins poison. He did not dare to rush over rashly. He immediately ordered Jiao Dahu, Jiao Dafeng, and Jiao Guanwen to attack. The three of them attacked Mu Yu without hesitation. They were all demons at the form synthesis stage. Since they were so close to Mu Yu, they all used their most powerful attacks to kill Mu Yu. However, countless reeds shot out from under Mu Yu's feet again and flew toward the three of them. Jiao Dahu and the other two's expressions changed slightly. They had seen how the Jade Flood Dragon destroyed the reeds. Once the reeds were destroyed, they would release a terrifying ruins poison. They did not dare to take the ruins poison head-on. The three of them forcefully pulled back their attacks and avoided the rain-like reed. They were afraid that they would be contaminated by the poison in the reed. "You don't dare to destroy the reeds? Then I'll help you." Mu Yu smiled faintly. The reeds in the air instantly exploded, and the yellow desolate ruins poison shot out. The three of them were scared out of their wits. They quickly retreated and left the range of the ruins poison. "Oh no, the ruins poison will hurt Xiaobao." Old Man Tian Can screamed. He and Old Man Tian Can transformed into their true forms instantly. The two chubby Tian Can silkworms, which were over 10 meters long, hugged each other and protected their child. The couple was very protective of their child. They would rather be poisoned than let their child get hurt. Old Man Tian Can even pulled the old doctor under his body. In their opinion, nothing must happen to the old doctor. Muyu was not worried about Tian Can and the rest. He controlled the direction of the explosion very well. The poisonous fog in the reeds floated towards Jiao Dahu and the other two. Jiao Dahu and the other two retreated a few hundred meters before stopping. They hurriedly checked their bodies and discovered that they weren't contaminated by the explosion. Only then did they heave a sigh of relief. At the same time, they angrily glared at Muyu, wishing they could skin him alive. What are the three of you afraid of? We now know how to make the antidote for the ruins poison. Are you still worried about being poisoned? Go kill Muyu and get Tian Can and his family back. The Jade Flood Dragon shouted angrily. Although he said that, he was unwilling to go through the drifting ruins poison. Obviously, he could send his subordinates to their deaths, but he was unwilling to be contaminated by the poisonous fog. Jiao Dahu and the other two looked at each other. They did not dare to disobey the Jade Flood Dragon's order. They could only brace themselves and continue charging towards Muyu. You guys really dare to charge? Muyu looked at the three of them as if he was looking at idiots. He controlled more reeds to explode in front of him. The ruins poison was getting thicker and thicker, enveloping the three of them. Chapter 761. Ah! Jiao Dahu, who was at the front, suddenly let out a miserable cry. He struggled in fear and his face revealed a painful expression. Being invaded by the desolate ruin poison was excruciating. In just a few breaths, Jiao Dahu's face turned yellow and he fell to the ground unconscious. Once too much of the desolate ruin poison was injected, the desolate ruin poison would make a person unconscious in an instant. No matter how high their cultivation was, it was useless. Jiao Delong and Jiao Guanwen were at the back. When they saw Jiao Dahu fall to the ground before he could even break through the poisonous fog, the two of them panicked and stopped moving forward. They didn't dare to move forward anymore. My lord, we can't go over, Jiao Guanwen said anxiously. Jiao Delong, on the other hand, shouted in fear, Oh no, I also inhaled the desolate ruin poison. However, he did not fall to the ground. Obviously, he did not inhale as much desolate ruin poison as Jiao Dao. However, traces of yellow spots began to appear on his face. They were wriggling non-stop and seemed to be spreading rapidly. It was extremely strange. Jade Jiao Dragon scolded angrily, Trash! What are you afraid of just a little bit of desolate ruin poison? Go around and catch him. Jiao Delong and Jiao Guanwen complained incessantly. A little bit of desolate ruin poison? Go around and catch him? It was easy to say. As a tribulation passing stage self-cultivator, Jade Jiao Dragon did not dare to go over. Instead, he wanted them to die. How ridiculous! However, they did not dare to disobey. They could only grit their teeth and stay away from the desolate ruin poison. They went around the poisonous fog and rushed toward Muyu. However, countless reeds floated around Muyu again. These reeds stood in the air like sea-stabilizing needles. Demons and ghosts retreated and did not dare to take a step closer. The scariest thing was that not only were there reeds around Muyu, all the plants in the swamp began to grow crazily and entangle the Jade Jiao Dragon and the others. These fragile plants could even destroy a foundation establishment stage cultivator. However, they had become a killing weapon that stunned the tribulation passing stage Jade Jiao Dragon. Brat! Just you wait. Retreat. The poison of the desolate ruins in the Jade Serpent's body made him more and more uneasy. Without another word, he turned around and left the place without any hesitation. Muyu could control plants, which meant that he could control the desolate ruin poison. He had to be careful not to let more desolate ruin poison enter his body. Jiao Delong and Jiao Guanwen hurriedly ran away. Jiao Delong originally wanted to save Jiao Dahu, but Jiao Dahu was already surrounded by the desolate ruins poison. If they went to save Jiao Dahu, they would probably be attacked by the poison as well. Thus, they simply abandoned Jiao Dahu and ran away from the edge of the swamp. These reeds are really useful, Xiao Shui sighed. Who would have thought that they would be able to repel a tribulation-passing jade flood dragon with these weak reeds? Mu Yu walked to the side of Great Master Heavenly Silkworm and Great Madam Heavenly Silkworm. He patted their big bodies and shouted, "Great Master Heavenly Silkworm, it's fine now. We should leave this place. We're going to die from the desolate ruins poison. We're definitely going to die." Great Master Heavenly Silkworm kept shouting uneasily. Mu Yu was extremely helpless. "Great Master Heavenly Silkworm, tell me the truth. How can heavenly silkworms be poisoned? You guys are born with strong poison resistance. The desolate ruins poison can't do anything to you guys." Great Master Heavenly Silkworm heard this and raised his head. His two small eyes stared at Mu Yu. "Are you telling the truth? Many monsters have been poisoned before. But tell me, when did heavenly silkworms get poisoned?" Mu Yu nodded. Great Master Heavenly Silkworm and Great Madam Heavenly Silkworm thought about it. They really didn't seem to have been poisoned before. Not to mention the desolate ruins poison, even the parasites of the desolate ruins poison usually ignored them. After making sure that they were unharmed, they turned back into their human forms. The old doctor sat on the ground and panted. Yellow spots appeared on his face again. Heavenly Silkworm's family was not afraid of the desolate ruins poison, but the old doctor was different. "Hurry up, I have to detoxify the old doctor. I'm sorry for wasting your blood." Mu Yu had prepared the antidote before coming here. He took different doses of the antidote according to the old doctor's poisoning condition. Without saying anything, he inserted a reed into Great Master Heavenly Silkworm's skin and started sucking his blood. Great Master Heavenly Silkworm squealed like a pig being slaughtered. That was close. Where are the Jade Flood Dragon and the others? The old doctor spat out the last mouthful of black blood and asked. After being poisoned, the old doctor was a little confused. He didn't understand what was happening outside. Suddenly, he remembered the Jade Flood Dragon. "Of course they were chased away by us," Little Shui said as he poked his head out from Mu Yu's shoulder. "Ah? They were chased away by Mu Yu?" The old doctor opened his mouth wide in disbelief. "But how is that possible? The Jade Flood Dragon is a monster in the tribulation stage." Great Master Heavenly Silkworm couldn't help but say, "How is that not possible? How do you think the Sea Goblin King was rescued? Did he walk out on his own? Wasn't it me and Mu Yu who rescued the Sea Goblin King together?" Little Shui said proudly. Mu Yu flicked Little Shui's head and said to Great Master Heavenly Silkworm, "Your two heavenly silkworms and little treasures haven't woken up yet, right?" Great Master Heavenly Silkworm's whole family was brought here. There was also the shy little girl and the 4 little heavenly silkworms. 2 of them were fine, but the other 2 were unconscious. Great Master Heavenly Silkworm quickly asked the old doctor, "Old doctor, please take a look at my 2 little treasures. What happened to them?" The old doctor touched the little heavenly silkworm and injected some spiritual power into the little heavenly silkworm's body. After circulating through the little heavenly silkworm's body, he said in the end, "They're fine. The 2 little treasures are a little weak and don't have enough blood. They must have taken their blood. Now you should know who killed your heavenly silkworm and little treasures, right?" Great Master Heavenly Silkworm immediately felt ashamed. When they were taken to the Jade Serpent and saw the missing heavenly silkworm and little treasures, he knew that he had wronged Mu Yu. Great Master Heavenly Silkworm's mother tightly hugged her heavenly silkworm and said with guilt, "Mu Yu, we were wrong back then. You didn't care about the past and saved us. We really don't know how to thank you." "That, Mu Yu, little friend, this is all my fault. When we saw Heavenly Silkworm and Little Treasure's bodies, we lost our minds. We're really sorry. Great Master Heavenly Silkworm's face would turn green when he was nervous. He still looked a bit strange now. It's fine. Anyone would be like this after losing their child. When the two little treasures wake up, you can ask them about their disappearance. Muyu said kindly. In fact, Muyu felt a bit guilty. When he came to the Valley of Dawn, he was always on guard against the Jade Serpent's revenge. He didn't expect Xiao Dahu and Xiao Delong to frame him in such a way. They didn't even hesitate to kill a little heavenly silkworm that hadn't gained sentience yet. He only wanted to do a good deed. He wanted to help the people of the Valley of Dawn get rid of the desolate ruin poison. He even told the old doctor the formula of the antidote so that the demons of the Valley of Dawn wouldn't be threatened by the desolate ruin poison in the future. However, no matter how kind he was, he couldn't win against evil people's schemes. Great Master Heavenly Silkworm's family and the old doctor were almost brutally killed by the Jade Serpent. The Jade Serpent is too cruel. Although it's been driven away, the Luan Feng Demon King isn't here. If it comes back for revenge, what should we do? The old doctor said worriedly. Don't worry. The Jade Serpent was just poisoned by the desolate ruin poison. It should be busy suppressing the poison now. At least it won't come to the Valley of Dawn for a few days. Muyu glanced at the unlucky Xiao Dahu, who was abandoned by the Jade Serpent. He wasn't in the mood to save Xiao Dahu. This guy even killed the defenseless heavenly silkworm Lil Bao. Even the old man wouldn't be so kind to save him, let alone Muyu. Now, the Jade Serpent had paid the price. But when we were captured by the Jade Serpent, a lot of our blood was taken away. Now that they have the old doctor's antidote formula and our blood, won't they recover soon? Madam Heavenly Silkworm was very worried. Muyu smiled. Don't worry. Let them try to cure the poison. He glanced at the old doctor and saw that the old doctor was also looking at him. The old doctor shook his head slightly. They will pay the price. The Jade Serpent and the others returned to the North Shore Abyss. The three of them didn't look good. The Jade Serpent was already deeply poisoned, and he accidentally inhaled some of the poison. Now, his body was tumbling and he was in unbearable pain. The desolate ruin poison he suffered was much more serious than Xiao Dahu's. He had been suppressing it with his tribulation passing stage cultivation. Although he had only inhaled a little, it was enough to make the desolate ruin poison that he was suppressing come back. Jiao Guanwen, did you see how the old man made the antidote? The Jade Serpent asked. My lord, the old man added some herbs to the antidote and the original ingredient. I've memorized them all, Jiao Guanwen said respectfully despite feeling unwell. Then what are you waiting for? Hurry up and make the antidote. We still have a lot of heavenly silkworm blood. Once I'm cured, I'll give the rest to you, the Jade Serpent urged. As the leader of one of the 4 dragon tribes, the Jade Serpent was very meticulous. After capturing the heavenly silkworm family, he had extracted a lot of blood from them to prevent the Luan Feng Monster King from suddenly coming back. If that happened, there wouldn't be any heavenly silkworm blood left. However, the Luan Feng Monster King didn't come back. Instead, Muyu saved them. The Jade Serpent was still very angry. Jiao Guanwen didn't dare to be negligent. He hurriedly took out the herbs that the old doctor had used to make the antidote. He remembered clearly which herbs were used and how much they cost. In addition to the herbs that the old doctor had added at the edge of the swamp, a bowl of white antidote was quickly brought up by Jiao Guanwen. Jiao Delong and Jiao Guanwen stared at the antidote, especially Jiao Guanwen. When he was making the antidote, he had to endure the torture of the desolate ruin poison in his body. The antidote was right in his hand, but he couldn't consume it. The Jade Serpent looked at the antidote excitedly. The old doctor had used this antidote to detoxify the desolate ruin poison. When he thought that he was finally free from the desolate ruin poison that had tortured him for more than 10 years, he couldn't help but want to shout out loud. He picked up the antidote and drank it all in one go. As soon as the antidote entered his body, he felt a burning sensation all over his body as if he was on fire. The heavenly silkworm blood mixed with the herbs into the jade serpent's blood. It began to search for the desolate ruin poison that had spread all over his blood. His blood seemed to be boiling and began to change. "This is normal," the jade serpent gritted his teeth and endured the pain as he said to himself. The heavenly silkworm blood began to take effect in his body. The jade serpent realized that his stomach seemed to be boiling. The desolate ruin poison in his meridians was being carried out by the heavenly silkworm blood. "It's working! It's working!" Chapter 762. Although Jiao Dafeng and Jiao Guanwen were still enduring the pain from the desolate ruin poison, they immediately understood that the antidote given by the old doctor could not be wrong when they saw the excited look on Jade Jiao Dragon's face. They were also very excited because they still had a lot of heavenly silkworm blood left. If a bowl of heavenly silkworm blood could cure Jade Jiao Dragon of the desolate ruin poison for more than 10 years, then they could be saved. Jade Jiao Dragon had been paying attention to the condition of his body. He did not dare to let his guard down. However, as the heavenly silkworm blood gradually took away the desolate ruin poison, he could already imagine his condition after the antidote was removed. He was even confident that his cultivation would advance further. "When the time comes, I must kill Mu Yu." Jade Jiao Dragon clenched his fists. However, at this moment, something unexpected happened. The desolate ruin poison in the jade serpent dragon's body suddenly became restless again. The heavenly silkworm blood was still flowing in his blood, but the herbs wrapped in the heavenly silkworm blood had lost their effect. The remaining desolate ruin poison in his body could no longer be removed. Not only that, the desolate ruin poison that was neutralized just now was reignited and rampaged inside his body. Then, the heavenly silkworm blood was also pushed out by the desolate ruin poison. As the blood was forced out of Jade Jiao Dragon's body, the desolate ruin poison seemed to be stimulated and began to erode his body at an even faster speed. Pfft! Jade Jiao Dragon did not manage to catch his breath. The mouthful of blood that was suppressed in his chest spilled out and splashed on the ground. He spat out blood. Jiao Dafeng and Jiao Guanwen were pleasantly surprised because they clearly remembered that the old doctor spat out mouthfuls of black blood after the antidote was removed. Jiao Dafeng also remembered that the nine-tailed cat brothers only recovered after spitting out black blood. However, the situation did not seem right. Why was the old doctor's blood black, but Jade Jiao Dragon's blood white? White blood? Isn't this heavenly silkworm blood? Jiao Guanwen exclaimed. Heavenly silkworm blood was white, and Jade Jiao Dragon seemed to have spat out the heavenly silkworm blood that he had just swallowed. Then, does this count as the antidote? Jiao Dafeng asked uncertainly. Jade Jiao Dragon had used his actions to tell them. At this moment, Jade Jiao Dragon let out a miserable cry. Yellow spots began to appear all over his body. His face turned sallow, and even his breath began to become chaotic. "This is not the antidote." The jade serpent coughed out another mouthful of blood. It was still the white blood of the silkworm. The desolate ruin poison that had been suppressed in his body for a long time erupted like a volcano and began to bite every meridian in his body. This time, the desolate ruin poison was more violent than before. Not only was the poison in the jade serpent's body not cured, it had even made the poison in the desolate ruins even more active. At this moment, it felt as if millions of ants were biting his meridians. Even though he was at the crossing calamity stage, he was unable to endure this kind of pain. He let out a miserable howl, grabbed Flood Dragon Guanwen's collar, and angrily rebuked, "Did you make the wrong antidote?" Jiao Guanwen was trembling in fear under the pressure of the Jade Flood Dragon. "My lord, I've strictly followed the herbs and dosages that the old man added. Not too much, not too little." "Then why isn't the desolate ruin poison cured? Instead, it's getting worse?" The Jade Flood Dragon wanted to tear Jiao Guanwen apart, but the desolate ruin poison in his body was causing him so much pain that he wished he was dead. He exerted force in his hand and flung Jiao Guanwen away. He roared angrily and transformed into his true form. A pale white flood dragon was rolling in the air in pain. The monsters within dozens of miles were all trembling, frightened by the Jade Flood Dragon's anger. "Mu Yu! I'll kill you!" The Jade Flood Dragon unwillingly left this sentence in the air and rushed into the abyss. Only the dragon pool under the abyss could help him suppress the desolate ruin poison. Jiao Delong and Jiao Guanwen were already at a loss of what to do. At this moment, the desolate ruin poison in their bodies was already acting up. They were in so much pain that they wished they were dead. Jiao Guanwen wanted to make another antidote, but when he thought of the Jade Flood Dragon's fate, he did not dare to try. However, the desolate ruin poison had begun to corrode his body. If he did not make a decision soon, the desolate ruin poison would torture him to death. They did not have the cultivation to suppress the desolate ruin poison like the Jade Flood Dragon. "Lord Guanwen, what should we do now?" Jiao Delong asked with a miserable expression. Jiao Guanwen made a prompt decision. He rushed into the prescription and made a prescription. That was the most effective and straightforward way to get rid of the desolate ruin poison. Jiao Guanwen chewed the herbs and swallowed them directly. The herbs entered his body and began to interact with the spiritual energy in his body. All the desolate ruin poison was forced into his left hand. His entire hand looked like it was made of yellow mud. "Mu Yu, I'll remember you for taking my arm." "Gotcha!" With a raise of his hand, Jiao Guanwen decisively chopped off his left arm. Jiao Guanwen let out a heart-wrenching cry. This cry and the severed arm frightened Jiao Delong, who was beside him. In Dawn Valley, Old Man Tian Can's two little treasures finally woke up. Little Tian Can told them everything that happened that night. It was Jiao Dahu and Jiao Delong who took Tian Can and Xiao Bao away while they were sleeping. They even brought them back to the North Shore Abyss. Over the past few days, Jade Jiao Dragon had also sucked their blood, causing them to be very weak. Fortunately, Jade Jiao Dragon thought that by raising little Tian Can, it would have an endless supply of antidotes in the future. It would not need to be afraid of the desolate ruin poison in the future, so it did not kill the two little silkworms. Now that the truth was out, the Yao clansmen in the Valley of Dawn understood that they had wronged Mu Yu, especially Uncle Heavenly Silkworm and Aunt Heavenly Silkworm. They felt extremely guilty towards Mu Yu. "You don't have to feel guilty. I'll protect you until Luan Feng returns," Mu Yu said solemnly. Strictly speaking, little Tian Can's death was also because of him. Jiao Dahu and Jiao Delong killed little Tian Can to frame him. Mu Yu was also very guilty. He knew that the grudge between him and Jade Jiao Dragon had been set. Jade Jiao Dragon would not let it go and would definitely come for revenge. Now that Jade Jiao Dragon knew about Tian Can and Tian Can's family because of their blood, Jade Jiao Dragon would not let Tian Can and Tian Can get rid of the poison in its body. In Dawn Valley, the most respected person was the old doctor. Mu Yu had to think of a way to deal with the upcoming disaster with the old doctor. "Old doctor, this matter actually started because of me. Jade Jiao Dragon framed me because he thought I had something to do with Long Xingyun's death." Mu Yu didn't hide anything and decided to tell the old doctor everything. The old doctor waved his hand and said seriously, "You don't have to blame yourself. Qiao Shui told me this before. It had nothing to do with you. Long Xingyun coveted Siren King's body. He was so afraid of death that he almost messed up the plan. He deserved to die. After a pause, the old doctor said, "You saved the white ape ancestor and the sea demon king ancestor. With this, you are our benefactor. Jade Jiao Dragon dared to take revenge on you. He must have eaten a bear's heart and leopard's guts. When Luan Feng's Siren King comes back, she won't forgive him. Unfortunately, we were too angry about little Tian Can's death and forgot about it. We were rude to you. We should be the ones apologizing." The old doctor's tone was so sincere that Mu Yu was touched. There were kind-hearted people among the monster race, unlike the jade serpent who was cruel and merciless. Not to mention, the old physician had spoken up for Mu Yu in the past. It was only because the other monster race members were incited by Jiao Dahu that the old physician could not help Mu Yu. Since it has happened, I won't stand by and do nothing. Jade Jiao Dragon will do everything he can to deal with me. When the time comes, Dawn Valley will be affected. So, I will help everyone to protect Dawn Valley. I also used a formation to protect Master Tian Can's home. Even the body integration stage demon clansmen were blocked by my formation and made a sound, Mu Yu said. Tian Can's family was crucial to the demon's fight against the desolate ruins poison. The old doctor asked Mu Yu for help, so Mu Yu didn't refuse. Not only that, but Mu Yu also set up a formation in the entire Dawn Valley. Once an outsider came in, they would be noticed. When Luan Feng's Siren King was here, there was no need to worry about the dragons causing trouble. But since the current situation wasn't optimistic, they had to be prepared. Speaking of Jade Jiao Dragon, I wonder how he is now. They have the detoxification formula, but I don't know if he can figure out a suitable dosage. The old doctor pondered for a moment. Mu Yu smiled. Don't worry. Apart from you and me, no one else can help Jade Jiao Dragon detoxify. Although he has the detoxification formula, the desolate ruins poison isn't something that can be cured with just a formula. Different degrees of poisoning require different amounts of herbs. It's useless for him to remember the dosage because the degree of poisoning is different from his. Mu Yu could guarantee this. The desolate ruins poison was difficult to deal with because of this characteristic. Before detoxification, one had to know the degree of poisoning before using the right amount of herbs to detoxify the poison. Otherwise, the desolate ruins poison would become even more uncontrollable. I really hope the desolate ruins poison can kill him this time. The old doctor vented his anger. It was the old doctor's duty to treat illnesses. Normally, he wouldn't say something like this. However, Jade Jiao Dragon's actions were disgusting. Even the old doctor couldn't maintain his original intention. The old doctor was silent for a moment. Then, he suddenly asked, "Young friend Mu Yu, I heard from Jade Jiao Dragon that you have a true dragon by your side. Is that true?" Mu Yu frowned. The reason why he didn't want to talk about Dragon Rattan was to protect Dragon Rattan from being coveted by the monster clans. Dragon Rattan's identity was extraordinary in the Azure Dragon dynasty. If all the monster kings were there, he wouldn't have to worry about it. However, since the monster kings weren't there, he had to ensure Dragon Rattan's safety. Not many people in the monster clans knew about Dragon Rattan's existence. Because Long Xingyun's group had been killed, only Long Yeli and Iwan Mao knew about Dragon Rattan, except for Qiao Shui and the Sea Goblin King. Qiao Shui had inquired everywhere. Except for Jade Jiao Dragon, the other three dragon clans didn't know about Dragon Rattan's existence for the time being. Jade Jiao Dragon was eager to seize Dragon Rattan's bloodline and become a true dragon. This kind of thing was naturally done in secret. Therefore, he certainly didn't want the other three dragon clans to intervene. Therefore, he wouldn't let the other three dragon clans know about it. Mu Yu, at this point, there's nothing to hide. Dragon Rattan had been holding back for the past few days. When he saw Jiao Dahu, Jiao Dalong, and Jade Jiao Dragon, He wanted to rush out and roar at those mixed dragons to show his true dragon demeanor. However, Muyu didn't allow him to show his face in public. Muyu was still worried about one thing. If the other 3 dragon clans also knew about Dragon Rattan's existence, then the 4 dragon clans would target Dragon Rattan at the same time. It meant that Muyu would have to face more than just Jade Jiao Dragon. Muyu hesitated for a long time. He believed in the old doctor's character and said, "Old doctor, this is a serious matter. Don't make it public." You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.